normal, so calm, and they were very shocked and surprised for him just to call like that. And just to recap what happened, all day long there's been no movement whatsoever. The police say that they've been on and off communications, talking to him on and off. Right now we're showing some video of some SWAT team. They had the house surrounded. We know that snipers were placed in certain key locations. Every now and then we would hear reports of police officers saying, can you get a clear shot of him? Can you get a clear shot of him? No, we can't. We can see him in the window. Oh wait, he moved. Forget it, forget it. And of course those were a lot of the reports that we couldn't share with you at the time because we thought that it would compromise that obvious police investigation and any kind of police activity. And the last thing we wanted to do was report a lot of things that could have a negative impact on the situation. Also, another thing that I have learned when I talked explicitly to Tracy Whitehead's grandparents, I was told that police insisted that she write that letter. If you remember, she wrote a letter begging her ex-boyfriend, Joe Palczynski, to turn himself in, and David Henninger, his former attorney, read that letter across our air. Tracy's grandfather told me that police insisted that she write that letter. So earlier they had told us that Tracy wanted to write it, but Tracy's grandparents now said that she insisted that she write that letter. And of course, police did not want Tracy Whitehead to talk to Joe Palczynski because they were afraid that if she did talk to him, that would be the one thing that he wanted and got, and then he might, you know, commit suicide or hurt the other hostages. That's the reports that we had been told. Just to recap, it looks like there might be some tearful reunion behind me. We'll get to that in just a minute, but all the hostages are free. Joe Palczynski has been shot, and apparently medevac, we've been told, is taking him to shock trauma.
Kathy, a moment ago we did indeed show some videotape while you were speaking, and it showed a lot of people hugging each other. Neighbors hugging police, police hugging each other.
That's live, happening right now. As a matter of fact, you can see there in our video, maybe if we just expand that, you'll see that people, you can see the look of relief, people actually smiling. First time we've seen this in a couple of days, and a few moments ago, people from the neighborhood were coming up and hugging the police officers, thanking them for the job that they have done.
Well, imagine the sense of relief. We keep saying numbers like 95th hour, 96th hour. But more than numbers, this has been tremendous, constant pressure for all of those officers working there, all of those people living there. And finally, not only does it appear to be over, but the hostages are safe. That is the best outcome that everyone was hoping for.
And Ukenna McGahey is there in the neighborhood right now. Ukenna, what's happening where you are?
Oh, we have a lot of people that are gathering outside, coming just to see what's happening. And as Denise said, just a sense of relief, wholly and fully, that some people are experiencing. I'm standing, come on over here and talk to me for a second. What's your name, ma'am?
Chrissy.
Chrissy, tell me why you came out here.
Because I was watching on the news and I saw that hostages had escaped, and I was wondering how they did it without getting shot at.
Okay, one second. We will talk to you in just a minute. Apparently we have some new developments going on. We're going to throw it back to the studio where they're going to talk to Kathy Fowler.
Okay, Bill Toohey has just come, PIO for Baltimore County has just come to the mic with the latest development. We're going to take him live right now. He's got the latest information.
Joseph Palczynski is dead. He was shot by Baltimore County tactical officers shortly after 11 tonight and died at 11:05 on the scene. To begin the scenario tonight, at 10:20, one of the hostages, Lynn Whitehead, was able to climb out a window to the safety of waiting police officers. She left behind Andy McCord and Andy's son, Brad. At 10:40, Andy climbed out that same window to the safety of police officers, leaving the 12-year-old boy asleep on the kitchen floor, Palczynski asleep on the sofa. At this point, SWAT team officers made what's known as a tactical entry. They broke through the window, encountered Mr. Palczynski in the family room, and shot him. They then rescued the boy, took him out, brought him out. Paramedics were called to tend to Mr. Palczynski, who was pronounced dead on the scene at 11:05. Now, I know you all have a lot of questions about this, but this is our very first preliminary announcement. We will have more detail as the night wears on.
Who even came out first?
Lynn Whitehead.
Did
She came out through a window.
Both out of the front window.
Yes, front right window.
Thank you.
Did Palczynski fire any shots, Bill?
As far as we know, no. But again, folks, please understand, this all took place within the hour and even less. We're still putting a lot together, okay? But Mr. Palczynski is dead.
Where was Joseph Palczynski?
In the family room inside those windows, correct?
Bill, did you have any injuries to your officers?
No officer has been injured. No hostage has been seriously injured. No hostage was hurt. The hostages are now being observed, but apparently not in need of any medical treatment.
Did he wake up? Part of a plan that all communicated between police and the hostages?
Is he escaped?
I don't believe so, Jane, but I've been away for the past couple of hours. I believe this was initiated by the hostages.
Where was Joe Palczynski when he was shot? Where was he? Inside the house?
Inside the house, sleeping on a sofa. Sleeping on a sofa in the family room. We believe so. Again, a lot of this is preliminary. We'll have more details as the night wears on. We wanted to get the word to you and to the public that Joseph Palczynski is no longer a threat. Now, we'd like to retire back inside to get some more information for you.
Just one clarification on what you just said.
Yes.
Joseph Palczynski, he was sleeping when they made entry. Was he sleeping when he was shot?
I don't know. One clarification is we need to go back inside and get more details. The SWAT team officers have just returned for a debriefing. Now, as the night loosens up here, I know you're all going to want to get closer to the scene to see the house. We're going to eventually, and I don't know just when, reduce the perimeter so you'll be able to get closer to the house and be able to get pictures of the house. I would not go driving off there right now, okay? But Vicky here, Corporal Wareheim, has maps showing you where the new perimeter will be. But I wouldn't go there right now because further announcements will most likely be made at this spot. Alrighty? Thank you all.
Okay, just to recap very quickly what Bill Toohey just said. He said about 10:20 tonight, Lynn Whitehead escaped through a window and started running towards police. About 10:40, Andy McCord, her boyfriend, jumped out of the window and escaped as well. Bradley, their son Bradley, 12-year-old Bradley, was asleep on the couch, and so was Joseph Palczynski. He was asleep too. And then also, they say that that's when police decided to enter. They entered that apartment. They got 12-year-old Bradley into a safe area, and then that's when they say they fired shots at Joseph Palczynski, and he has died. Joseph Palczynski is dead. They said he died. He was pronounced dead at 11:05. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Kathy. And a small clarification here, because things are happening very quickly. I guess Joseph Palczynski was asleep on the couch and the young boy was asleep on the kitchen floor. But the young boy got out, and then Joseph Palczynski was shot.
One of the things that we've been telling you is that Joseph Palczynski called Eyewitness News twice here over the past weekend. Most recently, he called yesterday morning. We have recorded his voice, and we've been holding on to this until this entire situation was over because of the sensitivity of the situation. We did not want to jeopardize the lives of the police officers or the hostages, and so now we bring you the last voice of Joseph Palczynski.
Saved message, Sunday, 2:55 p.m.
Suzanne Collins, hi, this is Joseph Palczynski. I'm in a house on Lang Street, got 3 people hostage. This is really me. I've been trying to communicate to the police. All I want to do is talk to Tracy Whitehead, my girlfriend. I love her dearly. I did not mean to kill those people. They've blocked all communication between Tracy and I and any outgoing phone conversations, or communication rather. I've been begging for them to just allow me to talk to Tracy, and I will surrender peacefully. I won't kill anybody else. I won't hurt anybody else. You know, I did not mean to do any of this. Somehow, I'm not going to indicate exactly how we got this phone, but bottom line is we did get the phone. But I need to talk to somebody immediately, and somebody needs to relay to Channel 13, 11, whatever, that the police are blocking any means of communication between Tracy and I, and that's all I want to do is talk to her, and we can end this peacefully. And my name's Joe Palczynski, and this is not a prank or anything. Social security number is 217-825-697, live at 41 Freedom Court, birthday is 11/11/68. That's all the verification I can give you. But sorry. Bye.
The recorded voice of Joseph Palczynski as recorded here at Eyewitness News just yesterday. Yes, he left that on Suzanne Collins' voicemail on Sunday. Palczynski also called the newsroom, and at that time he actually spoke on the telephone with Eyewitness News reporter Katie Lahan, and we have that tape to play for you now. Actually, Katie is there live. She is on the telephone right now. I'm sorry, Katie. Katie, of course, I know that you're as shocked as we all are that this happened so quickly, and tell us about the conversation. Of course, I was here, and you and I both heard his voice here at the studio. Recap for us what happened on Sunday.
Hi, Denise. Hi, Vic. Well, first of all, I think the thing that just absolutely surprised me the most was just the fact that when you've heard so many things about somebody who has committed these kinds of crimes, you think that they're going to sound different than you and I would sound if, we were in a conversation. And in this case, that was not the case at all. I mean, I felt like I was just conversing with someone that I knew, a friend. I think I spent about 20 minutes on the phone with him, and it did not at all seem as though he was the deranged killer or the bipolar person that we have heard so much about. Now, I have also heard, and as everyone else has in this community, that he was diagnosed as being bipolar, that he was very charming, that he was, for one moment, as his former girlfriend, Michaela Osborne, had said, very, very charming. At the next moment, could be very devious and, a very frightening person.
Katie, what did he actually say to you? What did you say in your exchange with him?
Well, basically what he wanted to say was that he felt that the police were blocking his communication, that he felt that he wanted to surrender, he wanted it to be a peaceful ending. All he wanted to do was speak with Tracy. He felt that if the police came in, that they would be met with, quote, serious consequences if they tried to take away the hostages without his knowing. But as I say, I mean, as someone who just spoke with him, I mean, I just felt like he came across as being someone who sounded completely sane and somebody who just seemed like he wanted to try to convince somebody. And, I mean, he convinced me, and I believe that that's because he was just someone who was so charming and convincing, and that's the kind of person that he was.
Convinced you of what? That he was sane?
That he was sane, yeah.
Well, even Kate, if you remember, even in our conversation with him when we were here on the set, he was more concerned about trying to get the correct phone numbers. Yes. We're going to, Katie, stay with us for a little bit. We're going to be coming back to you in just a moment, but we want to go right now back live to the scene because Vicki Wareheim is coming back out, hopefully with some more information about this very dramatic situation that has unfolded.
Actually, Vic, she just came out to say that the Baltimore County police chief will be coming out in a few minutes. So she wanted to let us know that any minute now he will be coming out to make an announcement. Just to recap what happened here, about 10:20 they said tonight Lynn Whitehead jumped out of the window. About 20 minutes later, about 10:40, Andy McCord, her boyfriend, jumped out of the window. They were running towards police. Bradley, their 12-year-old son, was apparently asleep on the kitchen floor, and Joe Palczynski was apparently asleep on the couch. Police came in, they got Bradley to a safe location, and then they said Joe Palczynski was shot. Now, what we haven't been told so far is if Joe Palczynski, they could not confirm, was he asleep when he was shot? Did he go to grab a gun? We're not really sure. Okay, right now we have a picture of the apartment building where the whole thing took place, and right now Bill Toohey is coming up to the microphone, and there's going to be an announcement right now. Here's the latest.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the man how he shot. That wasn't nice.
Baltimore County Police Chief Terrence Sheridan.
Are we all ready? Go ahead. Chief Terrence B. Sheridan.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm here to report that we had a successful operation this evening, saving the lives of 3 hostages. It was a professional effort by law enforcement, the Baltimore County Police Department, and could not have been accomplished without the support of the community and all the law enforcement agencies that were here. And it's 3 hostages, free, safe, because of the professional effort. Any questions?
Yes, sir, Chief. Can you give us any further details to how the operation went down?
Yes. Lynn Whitehead escaped from a bedroom window. Shortly after that, Andrew McCord escaped, and we were given information as to the location of Mr. Palczynski and Brad McCord, the son of Andrew McCord. And with that, the tactical officers made a decision to go in, and they went in through the living room windows.
How did they actually shoot him?
He was located on a sofa in the living room, and he was encountered and shot at that location. The boy was found on the kitchen floor. He was safe. They removed him.
Did Mr. Palczynski aim a weapon at officers?
I have not had any conversations with the officers involved. I do not have any other information.
Did Lynn Whitehead jump out the window on her own?
Yes, she did. She jumped out the window on her own. Our officers saw her leaving. They took her into custody, started talking to her, and shortly after that, Andrew McCord came out.
Was it Lynn Whitehead? What are they saying right now? What are the hostages saying right now? What are they telling you?
I cannot tell you. I'm not privy to what they're saying at this moment.
So you're taking a lot of criticism in this case. What do you have to say about that?
Well, patience is what counted. The support of the community, our county executive, all of law enforcement. It was patience. It was waiting for the opportunity to make sure we saved 3 lives.
Did the police have any idea that this happened tonight?
We did not. In fact, we were having a briefing when we were informed that she had come out the window. And the briefing was with the commanders in this situation.
Did Mr. Palczynski fire any shots at police?
I cannot answer that. I do not know.
Was Mr. Palczynski asleep when he was shot?
I cannot answer that. I do not know.
I think we're now getting into some areas that the details will unfold as we go on. Thank you all very much.
Was it Lynn Whitehead or Andy McCord who told the
Okay, you just heard from Baltimore County Police Chief Terrence Sheridan. He just came out and said it has been a successful operation. Once again, one thing that he just cleared up is this was not some kind of move that police had initiated. This was initiated by the hostages. Apparently, they planned their own escape. 10:20, Lynn Whitehead escaped, then Andrew McCord, and then police at that time went in, and Joseph Palczynski was asleep on the couch, and Bradley McCord was asleep on the kitchen floor. Joseph Palczynski was shot and killed, and he was pronounced dead at 11:05. Now, we've been told that the hostages have all been taken to a police precinct, so we can only assume by that they're uninjured. We've been told that they once again have been taken to a police precinct tonight. Vic, back to you.
I believe that Bill Toohey, the spokesman, said that they seemed to be fine, other than.
And Andy McCord had gotten out of the apartment through windows. You heard the police chief say, as you heard the police chief say, it was their idea. The police were surprised that it was developing when it did. Rod and Marianne?
Okay, Jane, thank you.
Thank you. And indeed, perhaps some of those who were hugging at the end of the street, as we recall, when this hostage situation unfolded on Friday, there were 2 people who initially were in that house and left the house Friday evening just before Joseph Palczynski walked in. So ostensibly, the folks that we saw hugging just about 10 or 15 minutes ago may have been the residents of that house who, for the grace of God, were able to leave that house before Joseph Palczynski shot his way.
The police officers at risk, so that's something we were not able to talk about. But this is what police have been doing all along. They have been maintaining tactical posts surrounding this house. They've had Mr. Palczynski in their sights the entire time, or at least as often as they probably could have. But because of their own secrecy and their own need for covert operations, they were not able to tell us about these things. But once again, as Police Chief Terrence Sheridan mentioned, officers rushed into this house and did what they needed to do, obviously to save a 12-year-old Brad McCord after his mother and after his father and his Mrs. Whitehead got out of the house. So back to you in the studio for the time being.
All right, and as we were just told, reiterated by police, this all happened because Lynn Whitehead climbed out of that first-floor window, took the initiative and did that. And right now we have on the phone one of the neighbors who saw that happen.
Yes.
Jim Carlson. Are you there, Jim?
Yeah.
Tell us what you saw.
Well, first I thought it was a sack of potatoes coming out, a dark sack coming out through the bedroom window, the front bedroom window. I think it's a bedroom, I'm not sure. It rolled. Next thing you know, he hopped up. The police hopped out. Aimed something out the window. They come flying out. A whole bunch of them come flying out. Aimed their rifles at the building, He hopped the fence, then hopped another fence. They took him into a house. They grabbed ladders, and I run from this window to my other window in the living room where I can see the whole front. They put like tree trimming poles through the finishing blinds. Up the ladders they went. They aimed the rifles inside and started blasting away. And the next thing I know, the other ones come out. And they just put them in a car. Sure.
Well, police have told us, Jim, that first one hostage, Lynn Whitehead, escaped, and then the second, Andy McCord. Did you only see one person actually come out of the window, or did you see both people come out of the window?
Well, I couldn't tell what it was at first when he come out. It was the father, McCord.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because I saw him when he stood up. He clearly, there's a spotlight right there. I knew it was the father.
Right.
The top of his head is kind of balded, and he was heavy set. He was in his bare feet when he hopped the fence. I noticed that. He'd run a yard, then he jumped another fence, and they took him in the hallway. Then he grabbed the ladders. They're about 6 foot, two double ladders. He put them up to the window. They went in. They didn't actually go in, but they had the Venetian blinds raised, and when they were backing out, one of the things caught one of the Venetian blinds or curtain, pulled it out the window.
Okay, Mr. Carson, thanks so much for joining us. We do appreciate you calling us and giving us that updated information for your own vantage point from there across the street.
Thank you, Jim Carlson.
Sure.
One of the things we want to do now is go back to Katie LaHan. She was on the phone with us a few minutes ago. She actually put together a story about her phone conversation with Joseph Palczynski.
It was just after 3 p.m. in the Eyewitness newsroom when I heard someone yell out, "Katie, he's on the phone." I didn't think twice. I picked up the line and got a chance to speak with a Joe Palczynski most people have only heard about. Basically go over what we've just been talking about. You tell me, and then I'll repeat it. When I first started speaking with Joe Palczynski, my first concern was the safety of the hostages. How are they? Everybody's fine? No one's been injured? What about the little boy? Brad's eating ice cream. Then Palczynski made his demands clear. You love her dearly, all you want to do is talk with Tracy, and you say they're being uncooperative? Palczynski told me he wanted to surrender. Why don't you just put down the weapons, Joe, if you want to surrender?
We are recording.
Why not? Palczynski insisted first he must speak with his ex-girlfriend, Tracy Whitehead. During our conversation, Palczynski told me, quote, "I don't know what the hell came over me. I need to talk to you. I just want to surrender. I want this to end peacefully." Then he continued, "I didn't mean to kill them people. All I want is Tracy." He then asked the hostages, all relatives of Tracy Whitehead, what they wanted police to do. And in the background, I heard them beg, "Please let him talk to Tracy." And then Joe Palczynski asked me to pass his ominous warning to police. Any attempt to free the hostages will be met with severe penalties at this point. Joseph Palczynski has been described as charming one moment, devious the next. But the man I spoke with truly seemed frustrated, desperate, and amazingly calm. Back to you.
All right, that's Katie LaHan in a story that she did about a conversation she had with Joe Palczynski on Sunday. And, of course, those were her impressions of her conversation with him.
It was absolutely amazing, the fact that he actually called here to the newsroom, a moment of flurry of activity here in the newsroom, trying to get in a position so that we could to record his voice. And we did, in fact, record his voice when he called back a second time and called the voicemail of one of our reporters. Let's go now to the last recorded voice of Joseph Palczynski.
Saved message, Sunday, 2:55 p.m.
Suzanne Collins, hi, this is Joseph Palczynski. I'm in a house on Lang Street, got 3 people hostage. This is really me. I've been trying to communicate to the police. All I want to do is talk to Tracy Whitehead, my girlfriend. I love her dearly. I did not mean to kill those people. They've blocked all communications between Tracy and I and any outgoing phone conversations, or communication rather. I've been begging for them to just allow me to talk to Tracy, and I will surrender peacefully. I won't kill anybody else. I won't hurt anybody else. You know, I did not mean to do any of this. Somehow, I'm not going to indicate exactly how we got this phone, but bottom line is we did get the phone. But I need to talk to somebody immediately, and somebody needs to relay to Channel 13, 11, whatever, that the police are blocking any means of communication between Tracy and I, and that's all I want to do is talk to her, and we can end this peacefully. And my name's Joby Palczysnki, and this is not a prank or anything. Social security number is 217-825-697, live at 41 Freedom Court, birthday is 11/11/68. That's all the verification I can give you. But sorry. Bye.
And that was the voice of Joseph Palczynski, recorded here at the station on our voicemail on Sunday. And he made references twice in that, and I think he also mentioned this to Katie, that the police were not allowing him to have any outgoing phone calls, or they blocked all of his contact with Tracy Whitehead. And that indeed has been confirmed to us by police. They, for obvious reasons, did not want to allow him just to call anybody he wanted to, and it cut his phone lines.
And somehow he managed to get another telephone to actually make those phone calls out. Once again, in case you're just joining us, Joseph Palczynski is dead. He died at 11:05 this evening in a hail of gunfire by Baltimore County Police shortly after hostages Lynn Whitehead escaped at 10:20. Followed that, Andy McCord managed to get out. Bradley, the Bradley McCord there you see on the screen, was asleep on the kitchen floor. Police moved in very quickly. They managed to rescue him. All the hostages are safe. Once again, Joseph Palczynski is dead. But there is an air of celebration right now in the neighborhood.
Relief, tremendous relief, and that's where Yukenda McGahey is. Yukenda.
Absolute relief. If I can recreate the scene for you of what I've seen going on in the last few minutes. First of all, as you know, about 11:15, we got the news that one of the hostages had escaped. We did a live shot with Miss Kathy Fowler. Minutes later, you came to me, and nothing was happening in the area. But right after that, I heard it, and some residents heard it. Tell me, what's your name, first of all, ma'am?
Christy.
Christy, tell me what you heard when you were sitting in your house.
Well, I was watching TV and saw on the news that one of them had escaped, and moments after that I heard boom, boom, I heard 2 gunshots. And then after a couple minutes after that, they came on and said he had been shot.
Right, and exactly, and minutes after that, we started getting crowds of people coming out their house, coming to their doors, to their windows, lots of police activity. We had the medevac helicopter flying above, an ambulance, what sounded like it, around us, and then unmarked police cars rushing down this street. And as you see, we've had quite a crowd that converged when the news came out. I want you to know what was done when we heard. What was your reaction, folks, when you heard that the hostages had been released, Mr. Palczynski was dead? It's not necessarily celebration that Mr. Palczynski is dead, but that was the reaction. We had people screaming, yelling, clapping their hands, and just sighing, just a whole sense of relief here that this is all over and that they may now be able to reclaim their lives. If I can just piggyback on something that Kai Jackson was saying earlier, as you know, there's been things that we've learned and that we've heard that we weren't able to share with you because of sensitive information, and we didn't want to jeopardize anyone's life or this entire standoff. But as he said earlier, as you know, we had a photographer that was strategically placed within the perimeter, and we had some people that lived across the street, and they actually said they saw snipers and SWAT teams entering the apartment next door to Mr. Palczynski, and they could hear and see everything he was doing at the time. Of course, we couldn't tell you that at that time, but as you know, we've obtained exclusive video from Sky Eye, Chopper 13, and other exclusive videos of snipers strategically placed on the roof of the building and everywhere. So there's a lot of things that have been happening around here we weren't able to tell you, but I can tell you this, people around here are absolutely relieved that this is all over. Back to you in the studio.
Indeed, they're now going to be able to go back to their homes.
Yes.
Certainly so. And also, we should also remember that there are other people who are, I mean, there's still a very sad situation. The situation is still very sad for a lot of people who lost lives, and for the families of those people who lost their lives, and certainly
when this all began.
Even the family of Joseph Palczynski, who very sweet people, many of them, and I know that they are saddened tonight too, but certainly a sense of relief that it is over.
Yes, all right, we're going to go back now to Kathy Fowler, who is live at what was the police command post, and see if she has any updates for us. Kathy.
Well, Denise, just a lot of family members from the Whitehead family are coming here, and they're like, we want to talk to Lynn, we want to talk to Lynn and Andy and Bradley. Where do we find them? We've just been told by police that they've been taken to the North Point police precinct, so that's obviously good news, if that is correct information, because then obviously they don't need any medical attention. We've been told that they're taken to the North Point police precinct. Just a few minutes ago, we heard Bill Toohey came out and gave the dramatic announcement that Joe Palczynski's bloody reign of terror ended, and he died at 11:05 tonight. Let's go to that dramatic development.
Joseph Palczynski is dead. He was shot by Baltimore County tactical officers shortly after 11 tonight and died at 11:05 on the scene. To begin the scenario tonight, at 10:20, one of the hostages, Lynn Whitehead, was able to climb out a window to the safety of waiting police officers. She left behind Andy McCord and Andy's son, Brad. At 10:40, Andy climbed out that same window to the safety of police officers, leaving the 12-year-old boy asleep on the kitchen floor, Palczynski asleep on the sofa. At this point, SWAT team officers made what's known as a tactical entry. They broke through the window, encountered Mr. Palczynski in the family room, and shot him. They then rescued the boy, took him out, brought him out. Paramedics were called to tend to Mr. Palczynski, who was pronounced dead on the scene at 11:05. Now, I know you all have a lot of questions about this, but this is our very first preliminary announcement. We will have more detail as the night wears on. Lynn Whitehead. She came out through a window.
Both out of the front window.
Yes, front right window.
Thank you.
Palczynski fire any shots still?
And of course, one of the questions that is unanswered, Joseph Palczynski was shot. Police told us that they went into the apartment. Joseph Palczynski was asleep on the couch, and then he was shot. We don't know what he was doing when he was shot. We don't know if he was asleep, if he grabbed a gun, if he made any movement towards police. So obviously, that's going to be one of the questions that will be answered tonight. But right now, a lot of relieved police officers. Back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you, Kathy.
We're going to go now live to the Eyewitness newsroom where Kai Jackson is standing by live. He has been monitoring the situation as well. Kai, what new do you have?
Well, Vic and Denise, of course, Yakinda mentioned a sense of relief out in that neighborhood. That obviously is also being felt by Tracy Whitehead, her relatives, those who were held hostage. But it has to be an absolute sense of desperation by the mother, the grandmother, and friends of Joseph Palczynski, who never wanted it to come to this point. They knew what he was doing was wrong, but they wanted him to surrender peacefully. People have been wondering how this situation escalated to this point. Here's a timeline, a look back at the things that precipitated tonight's events.
The other night in the woods, you told me how much you loved me and wanted to marry me.
A letter to Joseph Palczynski from Tracy Whitehead, read by Palczynski's lawyer in the wake of events that began March 4th, when Tracy Whitehead had Palczynski arrested for domestic violence. On March 5th, Palczynski was released on bond. On March 6th, he talked a neighbor into making a buy for him, and Joe Palczynski got his guns.
This is shocking to me to hear that the people were shot.
March 7th, 3 people are killed, Tracy Whitehead kidnapped, and the family of David Myers learns their son is dead.
She said, "Mom, Dave's dead." And I thought, I did not understand her. I said, "What did you say, Terry?" "David is dead. He was just shot."
And I said, are you sure? She said, I was just holding him in my arms and he died.
March 8th, a carjacking attempt, another person dead, and Whitehead escapes. Nothing from Joseph Palczynski for 2 days. Then on March 10th, a break-in in Virginia, and William Terrell is forced at gunpoint to drive Joseph Palczynski back home.
And I knew at that point in time that I may never see life again. I may never come back home again.
For 7 days, Joseph Palczynski rests, and police keep their search in high gear. Then Joseph Palczynski shoots his way into the home of Tracy Whitehead's relatives, and after a night and day of negotiations, starts shooting out.
Gun barrel coming out. Gun barrel coming out. Shots fired, guys. Shots fired.
Boom, 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 boom. It was like 6 straight shots.
You can hear 2 shots hit the face of the building at all the rounds that were fired. What he was doing is shooting at the armored car they had. And I don't know, we saw an armored car with the flat tires.
Hi, Jackson, WJZ Eyewitness News.
All right, and that was a report, again, of all of the events that precipitated this event. Gunfire periodically from this event that started last Saturday night. We should also mention, Vic and Denise, we can't emphasize this enough, Baltimore County and Maryland State Police's investigation of this is far from over. In fact, Eyewitness News has learned from a number of sources that Mr. Palczynski's body remains in that house right now. But this story is far from over. Their investigation is going to be still ongoing. There are a lot of information that they have not received, and one of the primary pieces of information that police have been trying to determine is whether or not Mr. Palczynski had help while he was on the loose. So those are some of the things that police will still be trying to find out. We'll update you in just a few moments. For now, back to you, Vic and Denise, in the studio.
All right, thank you, Kai Jackson, reporting live from the newsroom. If you're just joining us, we have played earlier, and we're going to play again right now, a tape recording of Joseph Palczynski's voice, the elusive voice that we went so long hearing about the man and not having heard. He phoned the Eyewitness Newsroom on Sunday. It was recorded on voicemail. Because we did not want to jeopardize the safety of the hostages, we held that tape, and we're going to play it for you now so that you can hear the last recorded message of Joseph Palczynski.
Saved message, Sunday, 2:55 p.m.
Suzanne Collins, hi, this is Joseph Palczynski. I'm in a house on Lang Street, got 3 people hostage. This is really me. I've been trying to communicate to the police. All I want to do is talk to Tracy Whitehead, my girlfriend. I love her dearly. I did not mean to kill those people. They've blocked all communication between Tracy and I and any outgoing phone conversations, or communication rather. I've been begging for them to just allow me to talk to Tracy, and I will surrender peacefully. I won't kill anybody else. I won't hurt anybody else. You know, I did not mean to do any of this. Somehow, I'm not going to indicate exactly how we got this phone, but bottom line is we did get the phone. But I need to talk to somebody immediately, and somebody needs to relay to Channel 13, 11, whatever, that the police are blocking any means of communication between Tracy and I, and that's all I want to do is talk to her, and we can end this peacefully. And my name's Joby Palczysnki, and this is not a prank or anything. Social security number is 217-825-697, live at 41 Freedom Court, birthday is 11/11/68. That's all the verification I can give you. But sorry. Bye.
And there you heard the last known recorded voice of Joseph Palczynski coming into the Eyewitness Newsroom on Sunday at 2:55 p.m. As you might imagine, when these types of things happen and we have information like this, we have to weigh whether we should use it right away or not. Of course, our primary interest will be the safety of the hostages as well as the police officers who are all involved. Suzanne Collins, who received that phone call, put together this story about our reasoning behind holding this story for you till now.
Sunday, 2:55 p.m.
Suzanne Collins, hi, this is Joseph Palczynski.
The recording of Palczynski's message was played for WJZ General Manager Jay Newman. Shortly after that message was left on Sunday, Palczynski also called the station and spoke with reporter Katie Lahan.
I talked to him, and when I was on the phone with him, the thing that just absolutely blew my mind is that he sounds totally normal.
Both reporters and station management brainstormed on what effect airing this sensitive information might have.
I don't know what the answer is. I think I want to hear more from police on what the expert hostage negotiators think it will cause before we decide.
Eyewitness News also realized Palczynski's words might be critical to police trying to solve the hostage crisis. The suspect had called the station on a phone that police were not monitoring.
I've been begging for them to just allow me to talk to Tracy, and I will surrender peacefully. I won't kill anybody else.
Eyewitness News management called county police. A short time later, a detective directly involved in the negotiations with Palczynski came to WJZ to listen to the tape of his recorded message.
I'm in a house on Lang Street, got 3 people hostage.
The detective had no comment, but took a copy of the tape back to the negotiating team so it might be evaluated. We also called Palczynski's mother, who had provided her son with Eyewitness News' telephone number.
What you're thinking is, even though you're not a psychologist, is that this may be the key to ending it.
I'm his mother. I know more than a psychologist knows about him.
And we are trying to do everything that we can
to cover the story in a responsible way, but not to do anything that could negatively affect the outcome.
Palczynski's plea was that he be allowed to speak with his girlfriend, Tracy Whitehead.
I love her dearly. I did not mean to kill those people.
But the chief negotiator called WJZ General Manager Jay Newman and made an appeal that Eyewitness News not air the tape until the crisis was over. Police were worried it just might give the gunman the excuse he needed to act out violently.
It was a difficult decision, but given the life and death nature of the situation, we at WJZ and CBS decided to err in the interest of caution and not do anything that might influence the outcome of the hostage situation and result in people getting hurt.
And that was Suzanne Collins reporting on our entire procedure.
Indeed. All right, we are going to take a short break now, but we want to urge you to stay with us. We will have the latest, updated, accurate information. Stay right here with Eyewitness News. We'll be back very shortly.
Somewhere in America, moments from now, there could be a new multi-millionaire. Welcome to The Big Game.
And good evening, everybody. I'm Glenn Burns. It's Tuesday, March the 21st, and tonight's Big Game jackpot is an estimated annuitized $14 million. To win the jackpot, all you have to do is match all 5 right balls plus the Gold Big Money Ball. Good luck. Your first Big Game winning number tonight is 42. Up next, we have 33. And congratulations tonight to Jesse Smith of Ypsilanti, Michigan, one of our recent $150,000 Big Game winners. 46 is next, followed by 21. Then we have 5. Now for the Gold Big Money Ball. Tonight's Gold Big Money Ball is 1. So your Big Game winning numbers are 42, 33, 46, 21, 5, and the Gold Big Money Ball is 1. If nobody matches all 6 numbers, Friday's Big Game jackpot could be worth $18 million. Join us then on your exclusive station for the Big Game.
To the perfect getaway with the new Ford Explorer and get low 0% financing or 1,000 cash back on the #1 selling SUV year after year. Behind the wheel of the bestseller for 12 years running, Ford Ranger, now with 3% financing plus 1,000 cash back, or choose 1,500 cash back. Fun just got a whole lot easier, and adventure a lot more affordable. So get up, get out, get moving. Get to your local Ford dealer today.
Let's work together. Come on, let's work together. Because together we will stand, every boy, girl, woman, and a man. Well, now make someone happy, make someone smile. Let's all work together and make love worthwhile. Let's work together. Come on, let's work together.
We had a lot of credit card bills.
We just weren't sure about the right thing to do.
If you're a homeowner and you call 1-800-CHAMPION for our Pay Down Your Debt program, we have something that will help.
We call it our Possibilities Profile.
We'll show you options you probably never considered.
Which bills to pay to save the most money?
Paying off your home sooner, funding retirement, education.
I show my customers how Pay Down Your Debt can help them today and 5 years down the road.
We were impressed.
Shouldn't you know all your possibilities? When your bank says no, Champion says yes.
WJZ thanks your nearby Jeep dealer for sponsoring Eyewitness News.
All across the country, winter is finally turning to spring. And now, with the National Jeep Spring event, you can explore all of the season's surprises. Change your whole perspective with an incredibly low $279 a month lease on the ever-capable Jeep Cherokee Sport, with no-charge features like air, remote keyless entry, and power windows and locks. Or check out the fun-loving Wrangler, now with no-charge automatic on select models. So get to your dealer today before this event takes off for the season. Check it out at your Jeep dealer.
As you can see, the standoff is now over with Joseph Palczynski at 11:05. Joseph Palczynski died. He was shot by Baltimore County Police in a hail of gunfire. This occurred shortly after one of the hostages, Lynn Whitehead, was the first to jump out of the window at the apartment where she was being held hostage. Shortly after that, Andy McCord jumped out while their son, 12-year-old Bradley McCord, was asleep on the kitchen floor. He has been rescued. Everyone is safe. We go now to an interview with the police chief from Baltimore County, Terrence B. Sheridan. He was telling us how this situation came to be.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm here to report that we had a successful operation this evening, saving the lives of 3 hostages. It was a professional effort by law enforcement, the Baltimore County Police Department, and could not have been accomplished without the support of the community and all the law enforcement agencies that were here. And it's 3 hostages, free, safe, because of the professional effort. Any questions?
Yes, sir, Chief. Can you give us any further details to how the operation went down?
Yes. Lynn Whitehead escaped from a bedroom window. Shortly after that, Andrew McCord escaped, and we were given information as to the location of Mr. Palczynski and Brad McCord, the son of Andrew McCord. And with that, the tactical officers made a decision to go in, and they went in through the living room windows.
How did they actually shoot him?
He was located on a sofa in the living room, and he was encountered and shot at that location. The boy was found on the kitchen floor. He was safe. They removed him.
Did Mr. Palczynski aim a weapon at officers?
I have not had any conversations with the officers involved. I do not have any other information.
Did Lynn Whitehead jump out the window on her own?
Yes, she did. She jumped out the window on her own. Our officers saw her leaving. They took her into custody, started talking to her, and shortly after that, Andrew McCord came out.
What are they saying right now? What are the hostages saying right now? What are they telling you?
I cannot tell you. I'm not privy to what they're saying at this moment.
So you're taking a lot of criticism in this case. What do you have?
Again, that was Police Chief Terrence B. Sheridan, Chief of Baltimore County Police.
All right, if you are just joining us and have not heard, once again, we'll reiterate very quickly that Joseph Palczynski has died, has been shot by police, but all 3 hostages are out and safe. We're going to go back now to the neighborhood where Ron Matz has joined Kendra McGahee, a neighborhood where people are now finally, after over 4 days, able to go back to their homes.
And it looks like that's exactly what they're doing, Denise. We're seeing a lot of cars moving in and out of the area, going past where the police perimeter was. As you know, we've been on this story for quite a long time. Ron and I have both been covering this story since its first began. First of all, I want to just ask Ron, when did you hear about this? What was your reaction after being on this story so long?
Well, certainly shock and surprise getting the news of how this developed and how the hostages were able to escape after all these hours of talking. Police talking to Mr. Palczynski. It's kind of ironic that the hostages, at least from what appears on their own, made it out of the house okay. I came down to the neighborhood here, a neighborhood where we have been for 4 days. This was 98 hours of terror for this Dundalk neighborhood, and the first thing we noticed as we pulled up, there were no traffic cones, no police officers stationed around, so you can imagine the elation of the folks in this Dundalk neighborhood tonight after this stunning development to end this hostage standoff.
Absolutely, and if you are just joining us and don't know how this all developed, around 10:45, of course, as we heard earlier, Kathy Fowler reported that a hostage had been released, a hostage had escaped, We came over here, there was nothing going on, and then suddenly, out of the blue, boom, boom, boom. 3 loud, what sounded like gunshots, and I know that was very startling for me, and I know that you had an experience with some gunshots. We'll talk to you guys in a few minutes. We're going to send it back to the studio to you right now.
All right, thank you, Kendra and Ron Matz in the neighborhood.
Let's go back now to the command post where we have Kathy Fowler standing by live with another update. Kathy?
Well, Vic, right now we're here with Robert Swagger and his 5-year-old daughter, Harley. You guys were very close to where Joe Palczynski was holding 3 people hostage. Can you tell me what you heard tonight?
We were watching the news, and we heard that one of the hostages went free, and I went to the door and opened the door, and then we heard there was another hostage went free, and while I was standing there, I heard one pop, and I shut the door, and I went back in, and I sat back down, and I was still watching the news, and then I heard that the other one was out, but I wasn't sure if they had Joe Palczynski, and it was kind of made me very nervous. I sent my wife and my daughter back upstairs. We weren't sure if he had gotten out and started running. So I went up top of the steps, I loaded my shotgun, I sat at the top of the steps thinking the worst, that he may kick my door in and come into my house and start a whole nother one. And it was just kind of scary, just thinking the whole episode could start all over again with my family. And
Okay, so you heard after we went on the air and said that one of the hostages had escaped. The gunshot was after that. So literally it was happening as we were on the air.
Yes, and what was scaring me was we didn't have a whole lot of information. And my first worst fear was that he was going to be so enraged after one of them getting out that he was just going to decide to shoot someone and try to escape and get away from it. And my worst fear was my house is close, I have a door, and he could kick it in just like he did theirs.
And how are you feeling right now after?
Very relieved, very relieved. I think Baltimore County Police Department deserves a great commendation for that. I mean, they did an excellent job. They were here through the whole thing. They did do a great job trying to protect the neighborhood and keep everything under control. The people that needed help got help. There was some instances we've heard that, you know, like the dog being shot. That was, I don't understand the whole situation there. That was a woman who lived 2 doors down from us, her brother's girlfriend's dog. And that had us kind of concerned and confused. We didn't understand why the dog had to be shot. And I'm sure there'll be a whole big thing about that. But
so Harley, how are you feeling now that you'll get to go outside again? Are you happy?
Yeah.
Trying to keep her occupied for 4 days was very trying. At one point, my father came over, and I lifted the fence up enough for my father to come under and give her some loving because she loves her pop-pop. And
so you had someone sneak in for a little bit?
Yeah, my father. He'd come over for a little bit and stay with my daughter and kept her company. We weren't worried about the neighborhood, but we just didn't want to take her outside, and we wanted her with us. But we didn't want to leave because, I mean, this is our house, and this is where we live. And everything we have is in our house, so, you know. I haven't been to work in 2 days. I miss work. I want to go back soon.
Going back tomorrow, or are you going to wait a little bit?
Tomorrow. I've had enough of home arrest.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thanks. All right. Well, there you hear it. A lot of relieved people tonight. A lot of relieved officers. This is the first time a lot of the officers have been smiling with a look of relief as this hostage situation has ended. Back to you guys in the studio.
And of course, Kathy, there's still a lot of other details we're going to need to sort out overnight, and we'll be bringing those first thing in the morning. Thank you for the live report.
All these stories, everyone's going to have a story about just what this was like for them at the last moment. Fascinating stories. Well, this is not the first time that Joseph Palczynski has had a confrontation with police in his long career, his long encounters with law enforcement. You're looking now at video that Eyewitness News has obtained of a standoff that was in Gooding, Idaho. That was in 1992 when Palczynski held police at bay at that time for 16 hours. We are told he did not have hostages then. Police say this happened because his girlfriend accused him of domestic violence. He had been accused more than once and charged and convicted of that more than once. The barricade finally did end when Palczynski was forced out of the building with tear gas. Again, at that time, he did not have hostages. The big difference, of course, no hostages there, but he did come out with tear gas, and he was not injured that time. This time, of course, he has been killed.
And as we mentioned, there are a lot of details about this situation that still are coming in and still developing. Let's go now to Kai Jackson, who is monitoring the latest information that is coming in there. Kai.
Well, Vic, there are a lot of people who believe they could have talked Joe Palczynski out of that house if they had that opportunity. There is one man. He doesn't want to be identified, but he spoke today exclusively with our Richard Scher. He says he and Palczynski became friends while they were in prison on the Eastern Shore. And apparently the two discovered that they had a lot in common.
Out of everybody there, I guess I had the most going or the most in common with him, and we just we hit it off very well.
One of the positive relationships Joseph Palczynski had was forged in prison. A bond with this man who wants to remain anonymous, who says he came to know Palczynski quite well.
And I actually would have considered being best friends with him if we would have hooked up outside of jail, you know, as long as his life was headed in the right direction.
The man says he can relate to the hardships Palczynski has endured.
We both grew up in broken homes. I got beat up by my parents when I was a kid, and he basically suffered through some pretty hardships himself.
He never, however, imagined Palczynski would wind up in this situation.
I never imagined that he would go to the lengths that he's gone now to get a point across. Of course, everybody gets upset once in a while, but I don't think I'd ever go to the lengths to prove my love for somebody that he is now. Or maybe he's just so distraught over what he's done, he doesn't know where to go from here. Yeah, Joby, holding this lady's family hostage over what you feel to be your version of love. Truthfully, she can't see you in those eyes as being love. What you're doing is torturing her more. And if you truly love her or her family, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing now.
And of course, that was a report I filed just tonight before Eyewitness News at 11 had an opportunity to come up, because the news broke that something happened in this house. And what eventually happened, as we discovered, of course, and we've been reporting all night, is that Joseph Palczynski is dead, shot by police, and that the 3 hostages are safe. Ron Messman is another gentleman I spoke with a few weeks ago. He also believed he could have talked Joe Palczynski out of that house. And of course, he spoke with us, spoke with you, Denise and Vic, over the phone, just distraught over these turn of events tonight. But again, the main thing is that the hostages are now safe. Back to you in the studio for now.
That's extremely important. Well, over the last few days, we have gotten to know a number of members of the Palczynski family. We have gotten to know his grandmother, who's been very generous with her time with us, and his mother we have heard from. And all of these people, of course, although they are glad, I know, all of them, that the hostages are released and safe, nevertheless are probably in deep pain right now and suffering.
And they've endured a great deal. We're going to go back now live to the scene. Kathy Fowler is there now with another element of the story. Kathy.
Well, Vic, now we can share with you information that we couldn't share with you before, because police had requested that we keep that information to ourselves. One thing, when Joseph Palczynski made those phone calls on Sunday afternoon around 3 o'clock, he called Eyewitness News twice. He called our newsroom, he called the assignment desk, he also called Suzanne Collins and talked to her answering machine, but he also called Tracy Whitehead's grandmother. He called her grandmother, and then he asked her grandmother to call Channel 13. He's like, I really need you to call Channel 13 and please convince them to put my message on the air, because he said that police would not pass along his messages, that he wanted to talk to his ex-girlfriend Tracy Whitehead. He said that if he spoke to her, then he would surrender the hostages and all this would be over. He said it didn't matter if he talked to her in person or if he talked to her on the phone. He just wanted to talk to her, and he said this whole thing would end. Police asked us not to reveal that information, but now we're going to share with you what the grandparents told us that he said that night.
Really appreciate you calling us, and we're all trying to help you.
Robert and his wife Pat were shocked when they picked up the phone this afternoon, and Joe Palczynski, the man holding their daughter and 2 others hostage, was on the other end. Palczynski used a second phone in the house police didn't know existed.
I don't know what to say to that situation. He said that I'll just say I didn't mean to do.
Pat, Tracy Whitehead's grandmother, was too upset to talk on camera tonight, but she called Eyewitness News right after she got off the phone with Palczynski late this afternoon.
He said he wanted me to call you and tell you this, and my daughter Lynn got on the phone and she begged me, please call and relay that all he wants to do is talk to Tracy on the phone.
Hostage Lynn Whitehead told her mother what it was like inside. Andy McCord, Lynn's boyfriend, is reportedly tied up. Tracy's grandparents say that McCord is a diabetic and hasn't had his medication for days. Eyewitness News also learned that Palczynski allowed Andy to call his brother.
Andy was upset in the background. I could hear Andy yelling, don't get him upset, please. God, don't get him upset. That's all I heard.
Palczynski reportedly said in this phone conversation that he's trying to get police to guarantee an insanity plea. Palczynski also told Tracy's grandparents what he wants to say to his ex-girlfriend.
He said, I just want to tell Tracy how sorry I am. I'm going to apologize to her.
Once the police realized Palczynski was talking to the outside world, they quickly cut that second phone line.
He did, for a brief period of time, have access to a phone to make a couple of outside calls. That access is over.
Tonight, the families are just relieved that they now know firsthand their loved ones are alive, and they hope their next conversation will be in person after this ordeal. Okay, and a few other bits of information that we were not releasing at the time. Tracy's grandparents said that she did call after she had escaped from Joe Palczynski. She called them and talked to them about her ordeal. They said that she had a fractured nose. She had been pistol whipped. She had been forced to sleep in the woods. She was having terrible, terrible nightmares from this ordeal, and she did see medical attention. And also, they also let me in on another bit of information that we weren't reporting at the time, was that police apparently insisted that she write that letter to Joseph Palczynski to try to get him to turn himself in. Now, Corporal Vicki Wareheim just talked to us a few minutes ago that we're being allowed, news crews are being allowed closer inside the perimeter, the danger zone, the kill zone, and shortly, hopefully, we'll be able to bring you some sort of pictures about what happened inside there. Back to the studio.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we're being told that our reporters Ikenda McGahey and Ron Matz are on their way as close as they can get to that site, and we're going to go live with them as soon as they've established a signal there.
Certainly so. Our coverage of this situation continues as it develops. The latest accurate information comes to you from Eyewitness News, and we'll be right back.
Now get 0.9% financing for up to 60 months on Dodge Caravan, the most innovative, most imitated, most trusted minivan on the road. 0.9 could save you over $4,600. High interest, low interest. Interested? Better hurry. Dodge Caravan. Different.
Hey, how'd it go at the bank? Jim, the car loan. Did we get it?
How about a home equity loan?
At Bank of America, we get to know you.
Jim, honey, what's this?
We ask questions.
Car?
Right. So why not a car loan? Well, are they all out of car loans?
Then we find financial solutions that fit you.
Actually, we have plenty of equity in the house, and we could get this thing called a tax break. I mean, where is the trust?
Bank of America. Let's talk.
But who's he with?
Escape the everyday, even if it's just for dinner, with a delicious Red Baron baked to rise, our most incredible pizza yet.
WJZ thanks GMC for sponsoring Eyewitness News.
GMC. Trucks with capabilities that will change the way you look at the road. Professional-grade pickups, SUVs, and family vans designed better than they need to be. Like the 2000 GMC Sierra, the only half-ton pickup with standard four-wheel anti-lock disc brakes on all models. Now lease a 2000 four-wheel drive Sierra SL for as low as $299 a month. Residency restrictions apply. Call for important lease details. GMC. Do one thing. Do it well.
Joseph Palczynski is dead. He was shot by Baltimore County tactical officers shortly after 11 tonight and died at 11:05 on the scene.
And that is Bill Toohey. You're looking now live at a picture from the scene where the standoff has come to an end. It came to an end a little over an hour ago with the shooting of Joseph Palczynski. And prior to that, the hostages managed to escape, all but the 12-year-old who was asleep on the floor. He was rescued. Everyone is safe. And again, Joseph Palczynski is dead. The standoff is over.
And the reason our cameras are able to show you that picture, which is the closest picture we've had of the house where this hostage situation took place, is because the police have allowed people to move back in, which means people are able to go back to their homes as well. And for many people in this area, it's been 4 long nights, long days away from their homes. Many of them have been at Berkshire Elementary School, and that's where Ruth Young is right now with the Red Cross. Ruth, are you on the phone?
Yes. Hello, Denise. Hello, Vic. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Tell me how the word spread at Berkshire Elementary School that the situation was over.
Well, actually, we have the authorities here with us, and also we've heard it, I guess, pretty much just as you heard it through, the television crews being out on the scene. And, we're really excited that the people are safe here, but now they're able to go back to their homes and their own beds. But, this was a very different type of shelter operation that we coordinated here, because we've never had to do anything like this before. Oftentimes, you see the Red Cross at tornado scenes and fire scenes and things of that nature. However, when we're at a standoff situation, it's very, very different, but we still use the same procedures as we would for any shelter operation. When there's a tornado that goes through in any area, we know that, we know how to track that. We know how to track a hurricane. But with this situation, we were unable to track it. However, we just stood our grounds, and we were able to put all of our volunteers in place and prepare in their specific job function, which is tremendous. We had over 114 Red Cross volunteers that responded ever since Friday. And we had 71 residents that are checking out now, and the way they're being processed is by street. And the first street that was allowed to be escorted back is Berkshire, then Elton, Dalton, and then finally Lang. So we're still processing people out of the shelters. They're able to go back home, and you know we're excited that this came to a resolution where that people can just be safe in their community.
Well, we thank you on behalf of the community. We thank you for all the wonderful work you've done the past days.
Thank you, thank you,
It's
and
extremely
thank you for
important.
giving us up-to-the-minute information. And we're just really excited that you know the Red Cross was here, and we had the authorities, and we just had a tremendous outpouring of support from a lot of vendors and merchants in the area that really just stood in the gap.
That's wonderful. I'm sure we'll be telling those stories over the next few days. Ruth Young with the Red Cross, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And many of us still are anxious for more information coming from the scene. We're monitoring it on several different fronts. We're going to take you now live to the Eyewitness newsroom where Kai Jackson has additional information. Kai.
Well, Vic, what we're finding out is that relatives of the 3 hostages that Joseph Palczynski had been holding since last Friday are now planning a party since their loved ones have escaped. And we should also add that during a brief phone call with his relatives on Sunday, hostage Andy McCord, who's now free, said that he didn't think they were going to make it out alive. Fortunately, though, that is the case. And Ruth, I'm sure would attest to this as well. You were talking with Ruth Young with the Red Cross just a few moments ago, Denise and Vic, would attest to the fact that even though this ordeal is over, I would imagine it will be some time before the Whitehead family recovers from this ordeal. I'm sure police have a number of questions to ask them, and in addition to that, I'm sure that they probably will need to talk with someone about the trauma that they've endured over the last several days. So this is something obviously that's ongoing in this story, and it's one of these developing issues that we talk about, but it's one of these issues as well that we still have to keep in mind that Mr. McCord, his son, and Ms. Whitehead still are going to have a long journey ahead before they're able to get some sense of normalcy back in their lives. People in that Dundalk neighborhood who've been shut out of their homes and who couldn't get back into their homes are certainly happy to get back in. But now what we're seeing here, I want to reference this armored car up here. This is one of the cars by Maryland State Police that was posted outside of the home with armed guards. And as you can see, the entourage of police is leaving. The main battle force of police that was stationed outside of that home trying to keep an eye on Joseph Palczynski is now leaving, and I imagine now the investigative process will now go into effect, where police go back into this house, and of course, as Shakina McGahee mentioned, the perimeter, and as Vicki Wareheim mentioned with Baltimore County Police, the perimeter that's kept the media away from the house has now been moved back closer to the house, so we're able to show our viewers a lot of things that we couldn't show them before. For right now, let's go back into the studio with you, Denise and Vic.
Okay. Thank you, Kai.
As we've been telling you, Joseph Palczynski is dead. He died at 11:05 this evening. This Sunday, he made 2 phone calls to Eyewitness News. One of them came in at 2:55. We have recorded his voice, and we'd like to play that for you now, but we want to let you know that the reason we have not let you hear this before is because we were more concerned about the safety of hostages, safety of the tactical units who were out there, and of course the people in the neighborhood, and we did not want to jeopardize any of that. So now you hear the recorded voice of Joseph Palczynski.
Saved message. Sunday, 2:55 p.m.
Suzanne Collins, hi, this is Joseph Palczynski. I'm in a house on Lang Street, got 3 people hostage. This is really me. I've been trying to communicate to the police. All I want to do is talk to Tracy Whitehead, my girlfriend. I love her dearly. I did not mean to kill those people. They've blocked all communication between Tracy and I and any outgoing phone conversations, or communication rather. I've been begging for them to just allow me to talk to Tracy, and I will surrender peacefully. I won't kill anybody else. I won't hurt anybody else. You know, I did not mean to do any of this. Somehow, I'm not going to indicate exactly how we got this phone, but bottom line is we did get the phone. But I need to talk to somebody immediately, and somebody needs to relay to Channel 13, 11, whatever, that the police are blocking any means of communication between Tracy and I, and that's all I want to do is talk to her, and we can end this peacefully. And my name's Joby Palczysnki. 697, live at 41 Freedom Court, birthday is about 1168. That's all the verification I can give you. But sorry.
It was verification enough because it was indeed Joseph Palczynski. As Vic mentioned, we hesitated to play that tape to you when it happened out of concern for the hostages. And now we'd like to give you a sense of just what kind of thinking went behind making the decision. Do we air this tape on the side of giving you information, or do we hold it to protect the hostages? Well, before we do that, we're going to... Okay, excuse me. Before we do that, we're going to go back to Kathy Fowler, who's live on the scene because we have another announcement. Kathy.
Okay, Vicky, I'm sorry, Denise, Corporal Vicky, is here live with us. What can you tell us? What's happening right now?
Right now, we got to realize that we're trying to get the community back into their homes, but there's also a lot of work the police still have to do. We know there's going to be a lot of destruction of properties from the bullets that rang out. That is evidence. We still need to have the inner perimeter secured. Some people are going to be allowed back in, like if you live in Berkshire, but the Lang Street 7500 block is still going to be secured by police.
How long until a lot of those residents are going to be able to get back to their homes when you say secured?
Yeah, it's unable to tell right now. Again, I mean, with the weather involved, we don't know if we have to wait for daylight hours to see how much destruction was occurred. You know, we're trying to get the residents back as best we can, but also realizing that there's a lot of work still to be done by police on that inside perimeter.
We just saw a huge entourage of police cars and the APC and everybody leave. Are a lot of them leaving and going home, or are they just going to another place to work some more?
Yeah, we're here all night. I mean, I'll be here all night. We need to make sure the inner perimeter is secure. We need to make sure there's a lot of work still left to be done, dealing with the hostages, dealing with the families of the hostages, dealing with the community. We're here for the community. We know they need help getting back in. If there's damage to be done, they've got to make a police report, so there's still a lot of work to be done.
Can you update us at all? We had heard at one point that Andy McCord may have been shot and minor injuries. Was that true?
No, it was not. See, the information we kept getting from Mr. Palczynski was that there was an injury. But as talks went on and there was no real need of medical assistance, it became diminished, but we just weren't sure if there was an injury or not. That's why we were trying to say we knew nobody had any life-threatening injuries, but the information that was being conveyed to us started to become a little sketchy. They were checked out by the medics. Nobody was injured.
Okay, so do we know why he said that? I mean, was he kind of leading you to believe that for some reason?
There are a ton of questions still left to be answered about this entire scenario. It's just going to take a little while till we get all the answers.
Okay, do we know at this point where he was shot or what he was doing while he was shot yet?
Trying to work through all that. I need to get back inside for a tactical debriefing. I hope to have more information for you later on.
Okay, thanks a lot. All right, there you go. The latest information from Corporal Vicky Wareheim, and a lot of people right now. As you see, it's not over yet. They're going to be out here all night long, and a lot of the residents still will not be allowed to get to their homes until the scene is clear. Right now, that whole Lang Street is considered a crime scene. Denise, back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you, Kathy Fowler. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Stay with us. We will have the very latest, updated, accurate information. You can count on us. Stay where you are. We'll be right back.
For the fourth day in a row, stocks were mixed as new reports of industrial losses were revealed.
International markets rallied after talk of a trade agreement.
Markets soared today on news that major blue-chip industrials are showing record profits.
Were posted this afternoon after news from the
Jets took a real pounding this afternoon after inflation fears contributed.
The Accord for the year 2000. Minimum investment, maximum return. And now for some numbers that will steady your nerves.
Whether grilled with garlic and lemon or served with a spicy salsa, some of the easiest meals are made with seafood. So whatever you're hungry for, you'll find it at Giant, where you'll find more varieties of fresh seafood than any supermarket in the area. And that's a great catch.
At Giant, my Giant.
When news breaks, count on WJZ Eyewitness News. Immediate response, live reports, latest updates. Immediate news coverage helps make WJZ Eyewitness News Baltimore's favorite news team.
When we first opened a joint checking account, we were engaged and our banking needs were pretty simple.
We had our first savings account there. We paid off my first car loan there.
And as our family has grown, our banking needs have changed, but we haven't needed to change banks.
Chesapeake Bank continues to be our bank. We appreciate the convenience, the personal service. They've been our lifelong bank.
For a free appraisal on your construction financing needs, call 410-665-2735.
Did you know you can shop at Apple Ford 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? It doesn't matter what the weather is, you're just a mouse click away at appleford.com. Appleford.com is completely exclusively Ford, and you'll find the largest selection of new and used Fords.
Like the new Ford Focus, price below invoice, and WinStars with 0.9% APR or $1,500 cash back.
Visit us on the net or stop by Apple Ford in Columbia. We're looking forward to meeting you here or at appleford.com.
Wheeler reported that one of the hostages had jumped out of the window. It has now been discovered that another hostage also jumped out the window. We have made a tactical entry into the apartment. All of the hostages are safe. That is all the information I have right now. I will be right back.
Of course, that was Corporal Vicki Wareheim, and that was much earlier, her making the initial announcement that the situation was over, that the hostages were safe. But now we know that Joseph Palczynski is dead. He died in a hail of gunfire at 11:05 this evening. There you see him for several days now, having held 3 people hostage. They all managed to escape, and the situation now, for all intents and purposes, is over, but the investigation does continue.
As we saw vehicles leaving just then and earlier, there you see it. It almost looks like a war zone, really. I mean, we had an armored car, we have a number of police vehicles, and there is a syndrome called post-traumatic stress syndrome, which is suffered by a lot of soldiers in battle or after battle. And I would imagine a lot of people, not only the Whiteheads, of course, and the McCords, but a lot of people are going to have some after effects of that. Just initially the relief that it's over, and then just the extent of the trauma that they went through.
And what you're seeing now is just what we've been able to show you from our vantage point. Certainly so, you can probably double or triple the number of emergency vehicles that have been involved in this operation, staked out at various vantage points that we have not been able to get to because of the perimeter that was set up around this very tense situation that lasted for 4 days. A
perimeter that has now come down. The police tape has come down, although they're being very careful because, as we heard Vicki Wareheim, Corporal Vicki Wareheim, there's that armored vehicle, mentioned a few moments ago, this is a crime scene, and they have to collect evidence. And a lot of that evidence is in people's homes.
Sure.
So there has been damage. Nevertheless, we are going to, our crews are getting as close as they are allowing us to, and we will have pictures from as close as we can get them as soon as we have them.
And certainly Bill Toohey characterized it probably best when he said we are reducing the perimeter. And of course there is a perimeter that still is up right around the building where this shooting took place.
Again, 3 hostages. If you have not heard, the 3 hostages are free tonight, and we are told they are well. They are now being interviewed at police headquarters. One human being, however, one man has lost his life. Joseph Palczynski did die at the hand of police bullets. And on this weekend, Joseph Palczynski on 2 occasions called the Eyewitness newsroom. One of those occasions was recorded, and the other was an interview that he did with Katie Lahan, our reporter Katie Lahan, over the telephone. Both of those we held out of fear for the safety of the hostages, but tonight we are playing those for you. And here is Katie's interview with Joe Palczynski, which took place on Sunday.
It was just after 3 p.m. in the Eyewitness newsroom when I heard someone yell out, "Katie, he's on the phone." I didn't think twice. I picked up the line and got a chance to speak with a Joe Palczynski most people have only heard about. Basically go over what we've just been talking about. You tell me, and then I'll repeat it. When I first started speaking with Joe Palczynski, my first concern was the safety of the hostages. How are they? Everybody's fine? No one's been injured? What about the little boy? Brad's eating ice cream. Then Palczynski made his demands clear. You love her dearly, all you want to do is talk with Tracy, and you say they're being uncooperative? Palczynski told me he wanted to surrender. Why don't you just put down the weapons, Joe, if you want to surrender? We are recording. Why not? Palczynski insisted first he must speak with his ex-girlfriend, Tracy Whitehead. During our conversation, Palczynski told me, quote, "I don't know what the hell came over me. I need to talk to you. I just want to surrender. I want this to end peacefully." Then he continued, "I didn't mean to kill them people. All I want is Tracy." He then asked the hostages, all relatives of Tracy Whitehead, what they wanted police to do. And in the background, I heard them beg, "Please let him talk to Tracy." And then Joe Palczynski asked me to pass his ominous warning to police. Any attempt to free the hostages will be met with severe penalties at this point. Joseph Palczynski has been described as charming one moment, devious the next. But the man I spoke with truly seemed frustrated, desperate, and amazingly calm. Back to you.
All right, Katie Lahan reporting on her conversation with Joe Palczynski, which took place on Sunday in the Eyewitness newsroom.
And as we mentioned, it's not the only time that he called here and talked, or at least left a message. One other time, Sunday at 2:55, Suzanne Collins received that phone call, and we decided as a newsroom, as a news operation, to hold on to everything. Here is a little bit of the thought process that went into making the decision to hold on to this information until just now.
Sunday, 2:55 p.m.
Suzanne Collins, hi, this is Joseph Palczynski.
The recording of Palczynski's message was played for WJZ General Manager Jay Newman. Shortly after that message was left on Sunday, Palczynski also called the station and spoke with reporter Katie Lahan.
I talked to him, and when I was on the phone with him, the thing that just absolutely blew my mind is that he sounds totally normal.
Both reporters and station management brainstormed on what effect airing this sensitive information might have.
I don't know what the answer is. I think I want to hear more from police on what the expert hostage negotiators think it will cause before we decide.
Eyewitness News also realized Palczynski's words might be critical to police trying to solve the hostage crisis. The suspect had called the station on a phone that police were not monitoring.
I've been begging for them to just allow me to talk to Tracy, and I will surrender peacefully. I won't kill anybody else.
Eyewitness News management called county police. A short time later, a detective directly involved in the negotiations with Palczynski came to WJZ to listen to the tape of his recorded message.
I'm in a house on Lang Street, got 3 people hostage.
The detective had no comment, but took a copy of the tape back to the negotiating team so it might be evaluated. We also called Palczynski's mother, who had provided her son with Eyewitness News' telephone number.
What you're thinking is, even though you're not a psychologist, is that this may be the key to ending it.
I'm his mother. I know more than a psychologist knows about him. And we are trying to do everything that we can to cover the story in a responsible way, but not to do anything that could negatively affect the outcome.
Palczynski's plea was that he be allowed to speak with his girlfriend, Tracy Whitehead.
I love her dearly. I did not mean to kill those people.
But the chief negotiator called WJZ General Manager Jay Newman and made an appeal that Eyewitness News not air the tape until the crisis was over. Police were worried it just might give the gunman the excuse he needed to act out violently.
It was a difficult decision, but given the life and death nature of the situation, we at WJZ and CBS decided to err in the interest of caution and not do anything that might influence the outcome of the hostage situation and result in people getting hurt.
Suzanne Collins, WJZ Eyewitness News.
Well, in both of those taped messages with Joseph Palczynski, he said that all he wanted to do, and as we've been hearing this for days, is to speak with Tracy Whitehead. I'm sure we will find out in the coming days what police thinking was behind not allowing him to do that. I'm sure they had very good reasons. We do not know what they are, but I'm sure those will be part of the questions we'll be asking them.
Certainly
as we say, what happened?
Certainly so. Well, we're going to take you now back live to the neighborhood, and we have Jesse Fell on the phone. He is lives just down the street. Jesse, what have you been able to see and hear this evening?
I'm a little shaky now. I've been in the house for 96 hours, and I hear the last couple of days I've been hearing a lot of gunshots, armored cars and police. There's a night, see 2 people jump out the window.
You saw them jump out?
We heard them. We heard the glass break. And that's about it. When we come out, when I got up, I heard 2 shots, bang, bang. And when we heard Palczynski was dead, we come out from the porch to get some fresh air, because we were limited to 2 rooms in our living room and bedroom for 96 hours.
Okay. All right, Jesse, Phil, we do appreciate you phoning us. We're going to leave you right now because we have another interview we want to go to, but we appreciate you phoning us, and we understand how breathless you are and that you finally are able to escape from your home. Thank you.
We're going to take you now live. We have another relative on the phone from Okay, we will in just a couple of moments. We will have a relative of the Whitehead family calling in, and we'll be talking with them.
While we're waiting, we're looking at live pictures of the neighborhood. If you're just joining us, a few moments ago, Kathy Fowler was interviewing live another neighbor who lived right in the vicinity, and he said something that never occurred to me, of course, sitting here in this studio, which is that when he first heard that from television reports that 2 of the hostages had escaped, he had no idea where Joseph Palczynski was, and his first fear was that his family might be in danger. Right. And as he said to us, he had to protect his family. Now we are, however, ready to go to an...
Yes. We have Robert Whitehead.
Yes.
Yes, the father of the hostage...
no, Tracy Whitehead, of the girlfriend.
Of the girlfriend is on the phone right now joining us. Are you there, Mr. Whitehead?
Yeah, how you doing?
We're good. How are you?
I'm doing very fine now since I've seen that on the news.
Sure.
Have you seen your daughter, Tracy? How is she?
No, the FBI would not let us see her. Ever since the whole hostage thing was taking place, they wouldn't let us talk to her or nothing, wouldn't let her make no phone calls.
Do you know where she's been?
On the protected custody, no, they would not tell us where they put her at.
Mm-hmm. Now, Mr. White, let's make sure that we understand exactly your relationship. You are Lynn Whitehead's father, correct?
I'm Tracy's father. I'm Lynn's husband.
Tracy's father, yes. Well, I understand, of course, your first feeling was of relief.
Yeah, when I heard she jumped out that window, my heart was pounding. I'm glad they're all safe.
Yes, Lynn Whitehead, your ex-wife, was the first woman to jump out the window. Is that that's what we've been told by police? Yeah. That was a very brave thing for her to do, obviously.
Well, she's like that. I was saying that to all my cousins were sitting here today. I said, I hope she does the same thing my daughter did. As soon as they get the opportunity, you know, go for it.
Yeah, it's quite possible that by her taking that initiative, she saved 2 lives. No, it's very possible.
She saved everybody's life.
I would say yes.
I'm glad he fell asleep or whatever he did, you know. I don't know.
I can only imagine that the last 4 days must have been agonizing for you.
Oh, it's been agonizing. Very agonizing for my whole family over the garden, my mom, my aunts, everybody. Everybody's been very supportive of it, you know.
Did you know Joseph Palczynski when he had a relationship with your daughter that was in happier times?
Yeah, I knew him. I went over there, ate Thanksgiving dinner with him and his father, his family, his mother, everything.
Have you had any communication at all with his family at all?
No, not since this happened, no.
Did you, I imagine that even before this hostage situation took place, you suffered along with your daughter in her...
yeah, because she kept trying to get away from him, and then she'd go back to him, and then get away from him, and he would not leave her alone, though. Like they said, he'd come out there and spy in the window, follow her wherever she went.
Did you have a sense that he had had a criminal past? Did she know about that?
I didn't know all that, you know. I heard about a hostage thing years ago, but I didn't know what it was about. You know, he never did discuss that with me.
Now, you know that she filed domestic assault charges against him on March the 4th?
Yeah, I know, and that don't make sense because he had her hostage down at his mother's house. He made her call her work up, and that's her boss that got killed. She called her, you know, to say, because he made her tell her that she was okay, because she went down there to get her clothes, because she was moving out. And he made her call work up, say she was okay, everything was fine. And the boss said on the other line, Tracy, you want me to call the cops? And she said yes. And she called the cops on Joseph, you know, Joby. And that's probably why he did what he did to her.
Yes,
because
that he was
she's
angry.
the one that sent the police down to the house.
I don't know if you heard earlier, although police may have already told you this, I would hope, but we were told earlier that she had been badly beaten up by him before she escaped, that she, I think...
Oh, no, she was beaten in the back with a shotgun. She had a black eye. She had bruises across her nose. She was kicked in the ribs. She drugged through the woods with no shoes on.
And still managed to escape.
Yeah.
Have you any idea when you might be able to see her?
I don't know. I figure since it's over, I don't know how she's doing right now, mind-wise. You know.
Have you talked to her at all on the telephone since this all began?
Oh, yes. She called us from the protective custody place.
And what has her emotional state been?
Very bad. See, when she first got out of the hotel, they just took her over there and interrogated her all night long. And then they released her to us in the morning. They did not give her no medical attention or nothing for a whole week.
After she escaped, you mean?
Yeah, when she first escaped. They interrogated her for 6 hours at the police station, at Towson Police Station. And when they got done with her, they sent her downstairs and wrote us all home. Well, they didn't write us home. We had to write our own self home.
So you saw to it that she got medical attention?
No. It took a week later. We called them up, and we wanted them to do something because she could not sleep. And they said they didn't have enough police to guard her at the hospital while she'd be in the hospital and all that. They finally came over there last Tuesday or Wednesday and got her out of the house, saying that they were going to take her to Shepherd Pratt and all that, 8:30 in the morning. But they didn't. They took her over there and made her write that letter and everything else. And then that evening, then they took her to Shepherd Pratt and got her help.
Well, now that this is all over, do you have any idea where they were keeping her?
I don't know. I'm waiting to hear from her, you know. See, I'd be out there right now, but as soon as my boy seen what happened on the news, I told him, don't go nowhere. I'm getting a ride out there. He took off out the door. I don't know where he went.
You mean Tracy's brother?
Yeah, Bobby, my son.
Okay. Well,
that's why I'm still sitting here waiting for him to come back. I don't know where he got to.
Okay.
Robert Whitehead, we appreciate you speaking with us.
Okay, I just wanted to get that off my chest, and there's a lot of things going to happen after this, I guess, you know.
I would think so. I think there will be a number of investigations. This is Robert Whitehead, the father of Tracy Whitehead, making some charges against police conduct regarding his daughter, which I'm sure will be part of the entire investigation that will happen after this into all the various elements of this story.
Which will likely take a fairly long time.
I would think.
Eyewitness News is the latest, accurate, updated information. We'll continue with our special report here in just a couple of minutes. We'll be right back.
Real-time closed captioning of Eyewitness News is provided by O'Connor, Piper & Flynn, ERA. O'Connor, Piper & Flynn is dedicated to providing the finest services to the public we serve.
See the USA in your Chevrolet. America's the greatest.
The new Chevy Impala has better 0 to 60 acceleration than Ford Taurus SE and Dodge Intrepid ES. So it's only fair to tell you, Sunday drives may last until Tuesday.
Lease a 2000 Impala for as low as $259 a month. Residency restrictions apply. Call for important lease details. See your local Chevy dealer today.
Let's go for a drive. Impala, we'll be there.
No, let go! I borrowed my neighbour's pig, and now they tell me I'm to be locked in here till dusk. What are you here for?
I'm just getting my picture taken.
Get reacquainted with your country. For a free vacation guide, call 1-800-HISTORY.
Colonial Williamsburg, where two worlds collide. For your free guide to America's birthplace, call 1-800-HISTORY.
Gray skies are gonna clear up. Put on a happy face. Brush off the clouds and cheer up. Put on a happy face. We're rolling back prices all over the place. So put on a happy face.
At Walmart, we're always rolling back prices because we know how much you like to save. Walmart, always low prices, always.
What do I know about performance? What do I know about control? What do I know about grip? Great horsepower! Limited slip, rear differential. Full-time, all-wheel drive. But what do we know? We're just girls.
Subaru Forester. Sport utility tough, car easy.
We later reported that one of the hostages had jumped out of the window. It has now been discovered that another hostage also jumped out the window. We have made a tactical entry into the apartment. All of the hostages are safe. That is all the information I have right now. I will be right back out again.
Joseph Palczynski is dead. He was shot by Baltimore County tactical officers shortly after 11 tonight and died at 11:05 on the scene. To begin the scenario tonight, at 10:20, one of the hostages Lynn Whitehead, was able to climb out a window to the safety of waiting police officers. She left behind Andy McCord and Andy's son, Brad. At 10:40, Andy climbed out that same window to the safety of police officers, leaving the 12-year-old boy asleep on the kitchen floor, Palczynski asleep on the sofa. At this point, SWAT team officers made what's known as a tactical entry. They broke through the window, encountered Mr. Palczynski in the family room, and shot him. They then rescued the boy, took him out, brought him out.
There was, of course, Bill Toohey, the spokesperson for Baltimore County Police, giving us the scenario, the breakdown of what happened from the time that this whole ordeal began to unfold shortly before 11 o'clock.
And it all has happened within the last couple of hours, and it's happened very, very fast. The information has come very fast. We have just now been allowed to get our cameras into the neighborhood, much closer to the actual situation or location of the hostage situation. That's where Yakenda McGahee is now. We go there live. Yakenda.
We're extremely close to where it happened. I want you guys just to turn around with me and look all the way down the street. If you see that one-way sign, 1 block down, that is Lang Street. That's the street where all the action took place. Now I'm going to take you over to the left just a little bit, and you're seeing an alley. You're seeing a gray set of buildings and a red set right next. This house right next to the red set is the house where this entire hostage standoff took place. This is where everything went down. We're going to be about a block closer in just a few minutes, but that's about as close as we can get. Right now I'm standing by live with a lot of people who have been holed up in their house for not 4 days, as you all told me, 5 days. 5 days. How relieving is it to be able to just walk outside?
We're standing out here in the rain.
That tells you something. Tell me, first of all, just a few minutes ago we had a lot, or an hour ago or so, we had a lot of stuff go down. How much of it did you see?
Well, we really didn't see a whole lot, but what it was, we heard on the news first, okay, about the hostage jumping out of the window. And then a short time after that, we heard 2 loud bangs. And then, of course, it really went down. That's the way it ended up.
Yes, and everybody tells me here they've seen a lot of police activity, not happening just tonight, but in the last 2 days, you said. Right. Yes. And that set of gunfire was not the first you heard, am I correct? No. You're saying there was some windows shattered right behind me. Tell me a little bit about that.
There's a car parked right behind my house that the first night the gunshots went off, he shot side windows out of the car. And that's directly behind my house. Matter of fact, we just let the dog out, and all of a sudden my wife heard gunshots go off, so we had to hurry up, run out there, get the dog, bring the dog back in, and we looked at the window on the car, and it was all the windows were shot out.
Had to be a scary situation. As a matter of fact, everybody here just told me a few minutes ago that they're so close to what went down that every time they'd even look out their door, there would be a police officer standing there, get back in the house, get back in the house. How frightening, first of all, the first time you heard gunshots, tell me the feeling, the frightening, how was it? What did it feel like when you heard that?
I fell to the ground, and I grabbed my dog, and my husband was crawling on the ground screaming, just get down, get down. So it was scary the first time I heard it, you know, because you could actually hear the bullets when they shot through the back way. You could actually hear the bullets just hitting off the fences, the gates, everything in the backyard.
Were you afraid that some of the bullets were going to come your way? How concerned were you about your own safety?
My dog was out there and they started shooting. I was scared that they were going to get my dog, and I kept hollering, get her, get him in here, and I couldn't stand it. And he said, you get back and go upstairs and hide. And I was scared because I'm very nervous anyway, and I couldn't take much more.
And sir, you were telling me that you were getting kind of upset with television reports that, you know, people were holed up in their house and they didn't even know the half of it.
Right. Well, no, they did. I mean, they were held up, but they were held up, and you guys were talking to them. So if you were talking to them, that means they were outside their houses. We could not even step foot outside our house from Friday night. It was Friday night up until tonight. Tonight's the first night that I'm allowed out of my house. Wow. And here it is, you know, and it looks like we're, you know, they offered me transportation to get out of here, but I work in Virginia. So my truck's sitting right there. And without my truck, I can't get to work, so I'm still out of work. I won't be able to get to work tomorrow, probably.
And then they would have took us up there to Berkshire. And then our dogs would have to be put in a kennel. And my dogs have never been closed in a kennel. No. I said, no, I'll stay right here.
Yeah.
Just bring me some food.
I'm sure there are a lot more stories like this out here, and we're going to continue to talk to these people out here and just hear what they went through. And we're going to continue to try to get a little bit closer to what actually happened. I understand they're probably going to let us in a block closer closer to see the house. But again, if you look down and see that one-way street down there, that is Lang Street, where the hostage standoff took place. And if you go just a little bit to your left, you'll see a gray building, the back of a gray building, and the back of a red building. The building right next to the red one is where the standoff took place. I'm going to throw it back to you all in the studio.
Okay, thank you. Kenna McGee live in the neighborhood in Dundalk, where this hostage situation has come to an end. Our coverage of it, of course, began on March 7th. Which seems like quite a long time ago, and has continued ever since, when it went from an escape, a manhunt, and then it went to a hostage situation. Kai Jackson's in the newsroom now to give us a sense of that history. Kai.
Yeah, Denise, first of all, let's give you an update from the Associated Press. We know that police stormed the house where Joseph Palczynski was holding 3 people hostage. We now know police say the accused killer, Joseph Palczynski, was asleep on the couch with a gun in his lap tonight as officers stormed that apartment. And of course, hearing from Police Chief Terrence Sheridan, as well as police spokesperson Bill Toohey, it did not appear at all that Mr. Palczynski ever had an opportunity to put that weapon into effect. He was shot by police. Everyone's been wondering what precipitated tonight's events. How in the world did this situation escalate to this point? Let us now take you to a timeline of the events that happened before tonight.
The other night in the woods, you told me how much you loved me and wanted to marry me.
A letter to Joseph Palczynski from Tracy Whitehead, read by Palczynski's lawyer in the wake of events that began March 4th, when Tracy Whitehead had Palczynski arrested for domestic violence. On March 5th, Palczynski was released on bond. On March 6th, he talked a neighbor into making a buy for him, and Joe Palczynski got his guns.
This is shocking to me to hear that the people were shot.
March 7th, 3 people are killed, Tracy Whitehead kidnapped, and the family of David Myers learns their son is dead.
She said, "Mom, Dave's dead." And I thought, I did not understand her. I said, "What did you say, Terry?" "David is dead. He was just shot."
And I said, are you sure? She said, "I was just holding him in my arms and he died."
March 8th, a carjacking attempt, another person dead, and Whitehead escapes. Nothing from Joseph Palczynski for 2 days. Then on March 10th, a break-in in Virginia, and William Terrell is forced at gunpoint to drive Joseph Palczynski back home.
And I knew at that point in time that I may never see life again. I may never come back home again.
For 7 days, Joseph Palczynski rests, and police keep their search in high gear. Then Joseph Palczynski shoots his way into the home of Tracy Whitehead's relatives, and after a night and day of negotiations, starts shooting out.
Gun barrel coming out, gun barrel coming out. Shots fired, guys, shots fired.
Boom, 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 boom. It was like 6 straight shots.
You can hear 2 shots hit the face of the building at all the rounds that were fired. What he was doing is shooting at the armored car they had. And I don't know, we saw an armored car with the flat tires.
Kai Jackson, WJZ Eyewitness News. Those were the events that led up to tonight, and of course we should mention here that police say they stormed in. Mr. Palczynski was on the couch. Vic, I want to mention something because I remember hearing you mention on the air the other day, and I think this is a point that those of us in the media will be asking police, and that is you have to imagine, and you were wondering this question, that at some point was Mr. Palczynski in a state where he was just physically exhausted. This was probably one of the scenarios of all the ones we discussed, at least amongst us in the media, that maybe no one really talked about a lot, and that is the hostages actually taking action upon themselves and getting out of that house. And I think one of the reasons why is because the feeling probably was, from the information we had from police, that Mr. Palczynski was keeping a very tight rein on them. But this is a scenario possibly that came about because he was just absolutely exhausted, and it allowed them an opportunity to get out and an opportunity for the police to get in. Back to you in the meantime in the studio, Denise and Vic.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Kai Jackson from the newsroom. All right, we're going to take a short break now, but we urge you to stay with us. We'll have the latest, updated, accurate information. Eyewitness News. Be back in just a few moments. Stay with us.
Discover the difference now at your Mercury dealer in the new sophisticated 2000 Mercury Sable LS Touring Edition. Loaded with no-charge leather, a moonroof, and ABS. That's a $2,335 value. And now get low 2.9% limited-term APR financing along with the no-charge extras. All for over $5,700 less than Camry XLE. And comes with features Camry doesn't have, like power-adjustable foot pedals. Discover the difference now at your Mercury dealer.
The spring sale at Hex starts tomorrow. Save 25 to 50% throughout the store.
This is where it all starts. This is where it gets good.
Integra at your Baltimore Acura dealers.
I'm from a small town. My parents told me that if I studied hard, I could do whatever I wanted to do. I was valedictorian, but I still didn't know how I would pay for college. I was surprised. I was very happy when I found out I got this scholarship from Walmart.
We as a company care about our community. They're our friends, our neighbors, our employees.
I think I have a very bright future.
The Competitive Edge program definitely will make the world a better place.
I'm so grateful that Walmart gave me the scholarship because it really has changed my life.
They are mothers, fathers, daughters, and sons, everyday heroes who are living symbols of one inspiring and powerful idea, the American dream. Meet them every Wednesday on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather, brought to you by Fidelity Investments.
Suddenly, spring is in the air. 7 beauty essentials. Free with any $20 Estee Lauder purchase. Through April 1st, exclusively at Hex.
The new Dodge Neon is heavy on standard features, including a 16-valve engine and 4-wheel independent suspension, along with theater-style lighting, 4 cup holders, an integrated tissue holder, and tons of other creature comforts. Get 0.9 financing for 60 months or $1,500 cash allowance on Dodge Neon.
Eyewitness News on WJZ.
All right, you're looking now at video that was shot about an hour ago as armored vehicles begin to leave the police command post in Dundalk. A number of medic vehicles and police cars and cruisers have all begun leaving the scene or changing their position in the scene now that the hostage situation is over. If you're just joining us, 3 hostages are released. They're safe, and we are told they are unharmed. Joseph Palczynski was shot and killed by the police. That was about 2 hours ago.
And we've been monitoring this story since it began on Friday evening. We're monitoring it right now on a number of different fronts, and we're among the first to bring this information to you this evening. We're going to take you now live to the Eyewitness newsroom where Kai Jackson has been checking sources from around the country and actually major news sources on this situation. Kai?
Absolutely, Vic. New information from the Associated Press. Baltimore County Executive Dutch Rupersberger says he is extremely proud of the police department and the job the officers did. The county executive arrived at the police command center tonight, as we heard earlier from our reporters, shortly after the hostages escaped from the home where they've been held since last Friday, of course. Now, Rupersberger says he and Police Chief Terrence Sheridan were well aware of the criticism surrounding the case, but their goal was to stay focused on the mission of having the hostages released, or to have the hostages released safely. He says the reason he and Sheridan kept a low profile during the ordeal is that Palczynski had problems with authority, and they didn't want to endanger the lives of the hostages. And of course, we heard from the county executive who came on first appeared on Eyewitness News on Saturday, a day after this story broke, and then he and Police Chief Sheridan appeared on Eyewitness News again, I believe, on Monday, talking about the fact that their first and primary priority was the safety of the hostages. And the county executive, I remember well, said that once he made his statement and said all that he had to say, he was leaving the rest to the police. He didn't want to come back on the air, didn't want to continually make statements, and I don't think he wanted to be put in a position where it looked like he was making open criticism to Mr. Palczynski, because as we know, Mr. Palczynski was in a home and had access to a television, and so it was very critical that he not say anything to endanger the lives of the hostages. Let us now take a look at a story that I filed just a short time before this story broke tonight, a man who says he was a friend of Joseph Palczynski.
Out of everybody there, I guess I had the most going or the most in common with him, and we just we hit it off very well.
One of the positive relationships Joseph Palczynski had was forged in prison. A bond with this man who wants to remain anonymous, who says he came to know Palczynski quite well.
And I actually would have considered being best friends with him if we would have hooked up outside of jail, you know, as long as his life was headed in the right direction.
The man says he can relate to the hardships Palczynski has endured.
We both grew up in broken homes. I got beat up by my parents when I was a kid, and he basically suffered through some pretty hardships himself.
He never, however, imagined Palczynski would wind up in this situation.
I never imagined that he would go to the lengths that he's gone now to get a point across. Of course, everybody gets upset once in a while, but I don't think I'd ever go to the lengths to prove my love for somebody that he is now. Or maybe he's just so distraught over what he's done, he doesn't know where to go from here. Yeah, Joby, holding this lady's family hostage over what you feel to be your version of love. Truthfully, she can't see you in those eyes as being love. What you're doing is torturing her more. And if you truly love her or her family, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing now.
That was a friend of Joseph Palczynski, a man who said he was a friend. He met Joseph Palczynski in prison. Another question or another thing that we have to consider now, Denise and Vic, is that now these officers, even though Baltimore County Police have been getting help from other agencies and jurisdictions, imagine now all of these officers are now freed up to do other duties throughout the county. Certainly, they were being taken out of normal functions, and even though they had help, these officers are now free to do other patrols and other duties that they normally had not been able to do, at least over the last week or so. Back to you in the studio for the time being.
Oh my goodness, on that vein, I mean, think of just the cost that this has been for Baltimore County.
It'll be interesting to find out that figure, Denise.
It'll be high, I'm sure of that.
Certainly so. Cost was also high for a lot of people who were out of work and had not been able to go to work and been trapped in their homes. Kenna McGahey is live now in the neighborhood, and she talked with some of the people who have been held there ever since this ordeal began.
Absolutely, and actually I'm sitting here talking to one right now. What were you saying? You ought to get T-shirts made that say what?
Joe Palczynski. Nobody can stop the mail, but Joe Palczynski can stop the mail.
That's about how you felt this whole time, isn't it?
That's true.
You know, I'm just sitting here and they're kind of telling us their war stories, because I think that's how a lot of them feel. They mentioned they felt like they were prisoners in their own home.
Right, we were prisoners in our own home.
Can you tell me just about the moments right before this all ended? Did you hear anything or see anything? I know you said you'd been sitting outside your window watching a lot.
And I was sitting on the side of the bed, and all of a sudden I seen the cops run down the alley, and then I heard the boom, 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 and I said, uh-oh, there it went. And we come running downstairs, looking out the door, and then we knew, you know, we heard it on the news that they had got him and he had died.
For several days you guys have been watching this. Have you been able to see anything out your back window, any of the tactical moves that police have been making?
All the tactical moves were right here.
No kidding.
They all walked up these set of steps, walked right across the front porches of all these houses, and down and around.
Yeah.
And today we had more armored cars than we ever seen. Today we had 3 armored cars. One pulled down there and stayed there all day, and then 2 other ones left. Then they come back, and when they come back, we kind of knew when they dropped that another 8 guys off behind the other armored car, we kind of knew something was getting ready to go.
These guys, what did they look like? Were they wearing dark clothes? Were they hiding and humpering? Trying to tell me what it looked like.
They had their helmets on. They all had guns strapped right to about here, and they all had, you could see, vests on.
Did it make you believe that something was about to happen today?
Yeah. I mean, well, the last 3 days, I say, what's today? Tuesday?
Yeah.
That Sunday night, we could see them. They would go down for about 3-4 hours, and they'd come back out.
Right.
And they would disappear. You could see them. They would go down past the alley, and then they would disappear, and then all of a sudden they'd come back up. They always parked their cars right here. All the vehicles would be parked right there.
Now, mind you, I know you guys are looking at some video right now, but mind you, we're talking to folks who called in to us a couple times and would tell us some of these things that were going on. But again, this was sensitive information that we couldn't put on air. But we actually had video, Channel 13 had video of snipers strategically placing themselves, and we also learned that some snipers had, in fact, gotten into the house next door to Mr. Palczynski. In fact, some people in the neighborhood told us they saw him going through the windows. Did you see that?
No, well, see, my house is here, and the houses, the other side of the houses are blocking it. But we could see they would go down, they hopped that fence down there, that big privacy fence. They hopped that, and then they went behind it, and between the house and the shed, you could see them actually tearing pieces of the other piece of privacy fence down, handing it back to the other people, and so they tore holes through the privacy fence, and then they'd go in, and then about 3 hours later, they come back out, and they had pry bars with them, sledgehammers, all kind of different.
Sledgehammers, pry bars. Now tell me this, did you hear, now we know a day ago, yesterday, that Mr. Palczynski had actually brought the hostages to the windows and had them screaming things out of the windows like, just let her talk to Tracy, just let him talk to Tracy, that's all he wants. Did you hear any of that going on, any of that come on?
No, because that was more faced towards Lang, and so now you're talking a block and a half away. We're only on the back side of the house, but we did hear the bullhorns last night after the gunshot went off in the house, wanting to know if anybody was hurt, and the nights before when they were trying to get back in touch with him because he was off the air, what, for 3 hours, they didn't get a hold of him for like 3 hours, and they kept saying, Joe, please answer your phone. We could hear all that, you know.
Wow. And this was like for you all watching a drama unfold before your eyes, and you really didn't have much more to do than that, did you?
On Homicide, that movie.
Right. Yeah. Now, I just want to give you guys some perspective really quickly about where we stand in relationship to where this all happened. If you'll just move down for me, Heavy. You're looking at the back our back alley and you see a gray townhouse, and right next to it is a brick townhouse. The townhouse right next to that you're not able to see is actually where the hostage standoff took place. To your right, if you'll see a one-way street down there, you might not be able to see it this far in the dark, but that is Lang Street. And we're actually right now you're looking at a picture of the front of the house where the hostage standoff took place. Our photographer Joel Eagle shot that for us. These folks I'm sitting here talking to actually said they were holed up in their house for 5 days. 5 days, a long time to be in their house. And they said they were so close to the action that was happening that when police would come, when they'd come to the window to their door just to look out, police would say, "Get back, get in the house now." So that's how serious and tense that situation was for them. I'm going to continue to talk to people on the scene, get some more information, because this is really compelling information. And we'll be back with you live later in the show.
All right, thank you, Kenda. And we now have on the telephone with us the brother of Andy McCord, the 12-year-old who was held hostage. His brother...
The father, actually.
Excuse me. The father. David McCord, who is the father of Andy, the 12-year-old who was held hostage. Are you on the phone, sir?
Yes, I am.
We thank you for joining us. You must be tremendously relieved.
Yes, we are so happy. You wouldn't believe it. We're so happy. We've been praying the whole time, ever since day one when Tracy was taken away.
Have you had a chance to talk with Andy yet?
No, I haven't, but I'm sure waiting to hug him. I'll tell you. I sure am.
Sounds like you got the entire family there.
A very elated family.
Yes, we have a crowd here.
So Mr. McCord, you are Andy's brother.
Yes, I am.
And so you're Bradley's uncle?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I've got it clear now. Well, this is the best possible outcome for your family, obviously. Have police talked to you at all since it's happened?
What's that? Say that
Have
again?
you spoken to police this evening at all?
No, we haven't. We just spoke to the chaplain.
Let me ask you something. Once you heard the news, I assume you got the news by watching broadcasts here. What was your immediate reaction? What did your family do?
Our immediate reaction was we heard Len climbing out the window, and then we're saying, "Come on, Brad and Andy, come on. Let's all three of you get loose."
And then once you heard that they had actually made it to safety, what did you do?
We were jumping up and down. Louis said, "Let's get over there." We were jumping up and down with joy, believe me.
Yes, I can hear you in the background saying cried, and I'm sure there were tears of joy. You say you spoke with a chaplain. Was this a personal chaplain or the police chaplain?
No, it was the police chaplain.
And what did he say to you?
We all said a prayer together.
Well, I'm sure your prayers have been answered, have they not?
Our
prayer works.
I guess you heard that.
I did hear that.
Let me ask you something, Mr. McCord. Had you ever had any contact with Mr. Palczynski at all?
I've met him a couple times, and that's it. And no long contacts, a couple minutes at a time. That's about it.
What was your initial impression of him?
My initial impression was he was a clean-cut young man that had good manners.
G.I. Joby.
But my wife used to call him G.I. Joby, and I guess that's who we thought he was.
Right. Yeah, you obviously are sad, though, also, that he lost his life?
Yes, we're sad for him. We're sad for his family, and we know the Lord is with us right now.
Right. Well, we were delighted that your family got out safely and that everyone is going to be okay.
Indeed. Really, the hostages, your brother and Lynn Whitehead really brought this to resolution themselves. They really made this happen tonight by jumping out the window like that. That was an extraordinarily brave thing for them to do.
Yes, I knew if they got the chance they would do it. And I knew that from the beginning when Tracy was taken. I knew if she got the chance, she would do it. And look, I'd like to let you talk to a couple other family members, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to let you speak to Mary McCord.
Hi, I'm Len's sister.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
So,
what are your thoughts this evening?
Just, oh gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. God answers our prayers. That's all I say. We have been praying for 11 days now.
Do you remember the last time you talked to
your... I just want to let you know, Krista Delcamp.
Yes.
She's our hero.
She is?
Yes, she is.
Well, we're quite fond of her as well.
She's wonderful. We've been speaking with her for about, how long now? 2 weeks.
Can you tell us when the last time you talked with Andy?
That was when he called my husband yesterday.
He called your husband yesterday?
I mean Sunday night. Sunday night.
Okay.
I got my days mixed up. You could tell me it was Friday. I agree with you.
Sure. How did he sound then, and what did he say?
He talked to my husband.
Hello, this is David McCord today.
What?
Are we off the air?
No, you're on the air.
Okay, I was just he called me Sunday night because they got into that upstairs apartment, and he said, Dave, he said, I love everybody. He said, and tell Mom, he said, tell her I love her too. He said, because I don't know if I'm going to make it or not. And he was crying his eyes out.
How long were you able to talk with him?
I talked to him probably about 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
He said, don't call the police.
Now, you say they got to the upstairs apartment. This is new information for us. That's where they found a phone?
What's that? Say that.
You say they went to the upstairs apartment?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where they got the other phone from.
I see.
Yes.
I see.
And I guess they cut it off right away, too, so I don't know. Okay, well, look, I'm going to put Mary back on here.
Okay. Are you all together tonight?
Yes.
Because you've been together since this all began?
Yes, we've been sleeping, a whole lot of people in one house, just trying to stay together and everybody praying. And hold on, I'm going to put Laura Whitehead on, Tracy's sister and Lynn's daughter.
Hello.
Hello. You, too, must be tremendously relieved tonight.
Oh, God was really with us. God was really with us.
Right.
Have you heard from your sister, Tracy?
No, I have not heard from her, but I know she's okay right now because I know that our family's released and God was with us.
Right.
And this is all over with. We can live a normal life now, no fear, and we're just thanking God.
Now, your mother, everybody's talking about your mother. What a brave woman she is.
Oh, yes, she is.
I mean, not a lot of people would have the kind of courage that she had to come through a window.
Oh, yes, we got a very strong family, very strong.
Does it surprise you that she took the initiative?
And they made it out there.
Does it surprise you that she took the initiative to crawl out the window first?
I'm going to talk too. It don't surprise me at all. I didn't know who was going to make it out first, but I knew they were going to make it out of this because I knew God was with them.
But when you thought about how it might end, I know all your prayers were that exactly this would happen, that they would be fine. Did you ever think, however, that they would actually escape, or did you assume the police would have to go in and rescue them? I mean, did you think they would get out?
No, not really, ma'am. Not really. My hopes were down. Pray, and my hopes will come up. We pray with priests, and I don't know. I'm just so glad it ended up how it did. My family's safe, and now we can all sleep, go on with our life. Got my mother back, my brother, my stepfather, my sister, all survived this. I'm just so overwhelmed.
Yeah,
I'm just so happy right now. I can't even explain it.
Right.
Well,
is David still there?
Yes, sir.
I wonder if I can speak with him real quick. A piece of information was just handed to us. David, are you there?
Yes, go ahead.
David, we just received this information from the Associated Press. A cousin of hostage Lynn Whitehead, Judy Gronke, tells the Associated Press that hostage Andy McCord's leg was grazed by a bullet, that it wasn't a very serious injury. Have you heard that as well?
No, I really do not know nothing about that.
He didn't tell you when he spoke to you Sunday. He didn't mention anything.
No, he didn't.
And of course, this would have happened on Monday, when the shot was fired inside the house.
Yes.
But as we understand it from the Associated Press, this was a minor injury, that his leg was just grazed by a bullet, and that came from Judy Gronke. Is that a cousin?
I don't know what Judy Gronke.
Okay, that's a cousin of Lynn Whitehead, we're told.
No, it's not. I don't know what Judy Gronke, and they don't know one either.
Okay, all right then. This could very well be.
This may not be correct.
May not be correct information coming from the Associated Press.
Well, very few families have gone through an ordeal like your family has, and very few families have come through it with such strength and with such a wonderful ending. So I think you should go back together now and celebrate each other.
Get another hug, go to bed.
That's right.
Okay, hold on a second. We got somebody else wants to say something here.
Hi.
Hello there.
I'm the grandfather.
You're the grandfather.
I'm all mixed up. I'm Tracy's father. Lynn's father.
Right.
You're Lynn's father, Tracy's grandfather.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you been there with your family over the past few days?
Yeah, we come up from Florida.
You came up from Florida?
Uh-huh. And I have my daughter here and Lynn's brother and his sisters and everybody's here. We're all here together. We're so happy. It brought the families closer too.
When did you come up, sir? When did you come from Florida?
I've been here a couple of days.
Must have been a very, very difficult and long journey.
Oh, it was. It was rough.
It
was living hell.
As each hour went on, did you gain hope that it would end peacefully, or did you lose hope? How did the hours pass by for you?
I prayed. We went up and prayed. Me, David, and Mark went up and prayed. Sat in the car and prayed.
Went up where?
The command station.
To the command station. I see.
And that's where we prayed at.
Okay.
And the whole family loves them. Tell them the whole family loves them.
All right. I am sure that your prayers were echoed by prayers from many, many, many people around this area who don't know your family but whose hearts are with them. Thank you very much for talking with us.
Wait a minute. I got people all around the world praying for me.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
And I want to smack them.
Yeah.
We're going to allow you to have your private celebration now. We appreciate you calling us and talking with us.
Would you want to talk to the grandmother?
Yes.
Yes, we will.
Yes, we'll talk to the
yes.
grandmother.
Yes.
Oh, she's out in the kitchen right now.
Hold on.
I would just like to say one thing. Andy, Lynn, and Bradley, it's over. Come on home! And that's from Brother Mark.
Fantastic.
I'm trying to imagine what the scene looks like in that household right now from what I'm hearing. Must be a lot of people crowded together. Is the grandmother at the phone yet? Mrs. Whitehead?
I'm here.
Hello.
What's your reaction? How are you feeling this evening?
Oh, when I heard Lynn come out that window, I said, go! Run! Run!
You raised one very brave daughter.
Oh, Lord. I don't think I could go through that anymore.
No.
I couldn't do it.
No one could.
I
heard someone say she takes after you. Is that right?
Yes, she does. I said, I know my Lenny.
All right.
I did. I said, I know she isn't going to put up with much longer.
Well, it is quite possible, had she not taken that kind of action, we could have been here for many, many, many more hours. So everyone is grateful to her, as well as, of course, your family.
Oh, yes. Mm.
Well, listen, thank you very much.
Tell them I love them all.
Okay.
If they're watching, I think they get that message.
Look, this is David McCord again. I just want to let Andy know that your mother has been praying for you the whole time, Andy, and thank God you're alive, buddy.
Okay.
That is right.
David McCord, the McCord family, the Whitehead family, everyone, congratulations. And we'll let you go and get on with your celebration. Thank you for joining us here this morning.
That is the very happy and very human side of this story.
And the best thing we've had in 14
I
days.
know. Imagine that scene. I can't imagine a family going through it and then what they would feel like when they got through it.
So.
It's wonderful. All right, we'll be right back with the latest updated, accurate updated information. Stay with us. Don't go away.
Dieter here knows about cars.
Roomy, comfortable, Camry.
Lots roomier than Camry.
Quality workmanship. Accord.
Come on, it's a Buick Century. Unlike Camry, Accord, or Taurus, every Century comes with traction control, dual climate control, and four-wheel ABS standard. Now get a Century 2000 Custom Special Edition with a Millennium offer worth $1,500. Or lease one for as low as $279 a month with zero down payment and zero due at lease signing. Tax, title, license extra. Residency restrictions apply. Call for lease details.
What's this?
It's the ejector button.
A great cruise begins at home. Cruise Crown Dynasty from Baltimore or Philadelphia to Bermuda, where the sand is pink and sunsets unforgettable. Cruise to Bermuda every week, May through October, on Crown Dynasty, the ship that is Bermuda stem to stern. The new Crown Dynasty is the perfect marriage of beauty and civility. Cruise from Baltimore to Bermuda, a place like no other on a ship like no other. Crown Dynasty. It's your ship, Baltimore. Welcome aboard.
See your favorite Apple Vacations travel agent for March Madness specials.
With gas prices the way they are, we'd like to take this moment to add a helpful little reminder. The very fuel-efficient Civic from Honda. Now get special financing as low as 4.9% APR for 36 months on all new Civics.
Good evening. I'm here to report that we had a successful operation this evening, saving the lives of 3 hostages. It was a professional effort by law enforcement, the Baltimore County Police Department, and could not have been accomplished without the support of the community and all the law enforcement agencies that were here. And it's 3 hostages, free, safe, because of the professional effort. Any questions?
Yes, sir, Chief. Can you give us any further details to how the operation went down?
Yes. Lynn Whitehead escaped from a bedroom window. Shortly after that, Andrew McCord escaped, and we were given information as to the location of Mr. Palczynski and Brad McCord, the son of Andrew McCord. And with that, the tactical officers made a decision to go in, and they went in through the living room windows.
How did they actually shoot him?
He was located on a sofa in the living room, and he was encountered and shot at that location. The boy was found on the kitchen floor. He was safe. They removed him.
Did Mr. Palczynski aim a weapon at officers?
I have not had any conversations with the officers involved. I do not have any other information.
And there you hear Police Chief Terrence Sheridan from Baltimore County talking to reporters shortly after this entire situation began to develop. Kai Jackson is here. We're kind of rotating around. We've got a lot of things that are going on right now.
Yeah, the information just keeps coming in, Vic, and I imagine, as you and Denise mentioned earlier, that as the days wear on, we will learn more information that police were not able to tell us earlier.
And one of the things we have not been able to talk about is the fact that Joseph Palczynski called our Eyewitness newsroom this weekend. He called twice, one Sunday at 2:55, and then just a few minutes later called and actually talked with Katie Lahan and with myself. We're going to show you now the story that we were not able to bring you about the conversation between Katie Lahan and Joseph Palczynski.
It was just after 3 p.m. in the Eyewitness newsroom when I heard someone yell out, "Katie, he's on the phone." I didn't think twice. I picked up the line and got a chance to speak with a Joe Palczynski most people have only heard about. Basically go over what we've just been talking about. You tell me, and then I'll repeat it. When I first started speaking with Joe Palczynski, my first concern was the safety of the hostages. How are they? Everybody's fine? No one's been injured? What about the little boy? Brad's eating ice cream. Then Palczynski made his demands clear. You love her dearly, all you want to do is talk with Tracy, and you say they're being uncooperative? Palczynski told me he wanted to surrender. Why don't you just put down the weapons, Joe, if you want to surrender? We are recording. Why not? Palczynski insisted first he must speak with his ex-girlfriend, Tracy Whitehead. During our conversation, Palczynski told me, quote, "I don't know what the hell came over me. I need to talk to you. I just want to surrender. I want this to end peacefully." Then he continued, "I didn't mean to kill them people. All I want is Tracy." He then asked the hostages, all relatives of Tracy Whitehead, what they wanted police to do. And in the background, I heard them beg, please let him talk to Tracy. And then Joe Palczynski asked me to pass his ominous warning to police. Any attempt to free the hostages will be met with severe penalties at this point. Joseph Palczynski has been described as charming one moment, devious the next. But the man I spoke with truly seemed frustrated, desperate, and amazingly calm. Back to you.
That, of course, Katie Lahan putting in a story that, for us regarding the phone conversation she had with Joseph Palczynski this past weekend.
Right. We now want to turn our attention to a statement that we have just moments ago from Baltimore County Executive Dutch Ruppersberger, who had insisted all along that he and Police Chief Terrence Sheridan were doing the right thing, that they wanted to wait Mr. Palczynski out, and that they didn't want to make any comments. Let's listen to the a recent statement just given moments ago to Eyewitness News from County Executive Dutch Ruppersberger.
We have to realize this person murdered 4 people. He was a very bad person. And he was a person who has killed, and he could have killed these people. And we could not stay off the focus of the mission where we went to go, and that's what was important.
Dutch Ruppersberger speaking there just a few minutes ago to reporters on the scene.
Absolutely. We now go back out to the scene in Dundalk, where Ron Matz is standing by live with the latest information. And Ron, as Vic and Denise were mentioning earlier, one of the things that's happened with reporters is that you have been allowed closer now to the scene of this crime. Is that right?
That is correct, Kai. We have gotten very close to the house where Mr. Palczynski held the 3 hostages for nearly approximately 96 hours, actually a little bit longer than that. Joining me live now are Jesse and Pat Fell, and we want to talk to them. They have been literally held hostage in their own house for 4 days because you live how far from where the hostage siege was going on?
About a block. About a block and a half at most.
Tell me what you heard tonight.
A little bit of glass break and 2 shots, pop. And I was thinking, oh no, he's out here shooting again. And it got a little scary again.
When this started, describe for me that night, last Friday night. Tell me what happened.
Friday night, we were in the living room and reading the paper, and I heard some hollering and screaming. And we looked out the window and we heard somebody, come on, get in. My wife looked out the back. She seen police officers with rifles running up the alley, and she kind of suspected something was going on.
What has it been like for you being inside for 4 days in your home?
Nerve-wracking. We were limited to so much space. We couldn't go near the windows, couldn't go out the front door, the back door, nothing like that. We had to watch where we went, and it was a long 96 hours.
We want to ask Pat, your feelings right now that you're able to go out.
Relief and good. Good to be alive. Thank God it's over.
What was this like for you to be inside for 4 days, not being able to go outside of your house?
That didn't bother me too much at times, but when I'd hear the shooting, then I'd freak out and get scared. And I'd smoke and call my mom and say, Mom, we're okay, we're all safe, we're okay.
We kept close-knit with our families and our co-workers and all that. We kept them up, what was going on, and we just thank God we come out okay.
What was your feeling tonight when you walked out of that house?
Very relieved. I was thinking, you know, when this is over with, I'm going to just walk out the front door and I'm going to take a big breath and say, thank God, I'm out, we're safe, and I'm going to come out here and get some air. Let me get my sea legs back together again.
How did you keep up to date on what was going on?
13 News. These guys did a good job. We always watch these guys. These guys are pretty good. I know just about most all these guys. Ron, you had a little hairy experience the other day.
Well, I did, but believe me, not as difficult as yours. You are the real troopers to stay in there and hang in there. And I know you wanted to say something about the police.
Police, the county police, they are the best we have down here. We have a close-knit community. We have a tremendous respect for our county police. The deal was patience, patience, patience. The ones that got left in their own houses, we had the patience. The police had the patience. We'd like to thank the county police and Ms. Vicki Wareheim and Bill Tooley. We thank you guys very much. We just thank God we all come out of our houses. It's been a long ordeal for everybody. It's been a long 96 hours for us, and we just like to thank everybody that got involved, and we thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Ron.
Good luck.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you,
Sure,
Ron.
sure thing. We have to send it back to Kai and Vic and Kai back in the studio right now.
Okay, thank you. And we're going to toss it right back out to the other part of the scene. Vicki Wareheim is there making an announcement. Vicki.
Yes, no, maybe. ABC? Anybody here? You all ready to go?
Good to go.
All right, folks, again, just to recap, we do know that all the hostages are safe. Mr. Palczynski was shot and killed by the police. We can't stress enough how much we appreciate the cooperation between the community and the media. You folks have been here as long as we have, and we understand everybody's been very frustrated. There was a lot of confusion, and I'm sure a lot more information will come out as everything else gets debriefed. There were some questions posed as to exactly what happened when the tactical team made entry. When they made entry, Mr. Palczynski was on the sofa, at which point, knowing that he was armed, because the hostages had told us that he had weapons with him, Mr. Palczynski began to sit up on the sofa, at which point the tactical officer shot and killed him.
Do you know how many shots were fired?
We'll have to wait until all the medical results are done as to number of rounds fired. Again, through the administrative process with the tactical teams, we have to go get their guns, count the rounds, take care of that. There's a lot of administrative things that need to be done. So number of shots fired and where the shots fired won't be available today. Might be available tomorrow, but I can't guarantee it.
But was the body still in the house?
There were 2 officers that fired.
How many tactical officers actually entered the apartment?
I believe there was a tactical team of 6. 2 made the initial entry. The rest will be followed.
Were they Baltimore County or were
they were Baltimore County tactical officers, that's correct.
When was the last phone call the police made to Mr. Palczynski?
They were on the line with Mr. Palczynski up until 9:45 this evening. We all know roughly around 10:20 is when Lynn Whitehead escaped out the front window.
What was the nature of that call? Was he distressed? What was his demeanor?
Again, any conversations that had been going on before between the negotiators were really staying with them. We just had the information of when they were talking to him and when all communication had stopped.
Where are the families right now? Where are the families
now? The families right now, you mean the hostages or the families? Well, no longer
the hostages.
The hostages are back at headquarters in Towson. There's a lot of information that we have to get from them. This is just, again, information will keep coming out bit by bit. I'm just trying to give you the updated information that we have.
Will they be evaluated or anything?
They've been checked out medically. There was also some questions as to Andy McCord's conditions. Nobody suffered any kind of a gunshot wound, injury. Nick grazed nothing. Nothing at all. As for other injuries, bumps and bruises, we don't know. But nobody was injured by any sort of a gunshot wound.
Have they been reunited with their families, with the former hostages? Have they been?
I'm not sure yet. Again, the logistics of trying to get everybody together and trying to talk to everybody is going on right now, but they are back at Towson headquarters.
How much time was there between when Lynn got out and when Andy got out?
About 10 minutes.
So he didn't notice that she had escaped then? Is that?
Don't know who noticed what, but the time frame was that Lynn came out the front window. Roughly about 10 minutes later, Andy McCord came out. They told us that Bradley was asleep on the back kitchen floor. They left him inside. That Palczynski was on the sofa. They believed he was asleep. We still have to find out the details of that, knowing that he was also armed and he was on the sofa.
Was the sofa in the same room as the window they got it claimed out?
No, they got out of a bedroom window, which is to the right if you're looking at the apartment. The tactical entry was made the left set of windows because that's where Mr. Palczynski was.
How quickly did you guys move in once you figured out that everyone else was out?
Right, once we saw Lynn was out, we had to get her into our custody, find out what she knew. We had to find out who was wearing what clothing. Then Andy came out, said the same information, that Palczynski was on the sofa, that he had a weapon on his lap, that Bradley was in the back kitchen asleep on the floor. Once we had that information, the order was given by the command staff to make tactical entry.
How long did that take? 2 minutes, 3 minutes?
It was very quick.
What weapon did you
Were they
have?
able to move about the house? Have they given you any indication as to what happened to them for 5 days?
That's what's going on right now. All the debriefing of the hostages is currently going on, and that's information that we need to find out. Again, we're just dealing with the fact that the hostages are out. Mr. Palczynski has been shot and killed by police. The investigation goes on. You've got a whole community that is destruction of property. They're dealing with the animals that were in there now. I mean, this community needs to get its life back. That's kind of where the focus is right now, to get their life back, but also realizing the investigation has a lot of questions to the answer.
How did this happen? Bodies still in the house.
I don't know.
How soon will families be?
How did this happen tonight? Did the hostages make a plan?
We have no knowledge of any plan. As a matter of fact, I was in with the command staff in a meeting when over the radio somebody said one of the hostages is climbing out the window.
So you don't know why tonight at that hour they decided to do it?
No, ma'am. But I do know that we were not in communication with Mr. Palczynski when this occurred. We last talked to him at 9:45. Ms. Whitehead came out of the window roughly around 10:20.
How close were the police to the window? I mean, when Mr. Tooley said that the hostages started escaping through the window to the safety of police,
Correct.
how did the police know that she was coming out?
Well, the entire time we had tactical positions, and I'm not going to disclose any more than that, but we had tactical positions around just in case something like this would happen. There were several scenarios that you have to go through. One of them was the hostages coming out. Other than that, the tactical decisions and their deployment will stay with the investigation.
And where was the tactical entry?
Front left window into the family room. They escaped out of the front right window.
How soon will families be allowed back into their
They're
homes?
doing that right now as we speak. They're trying to get in as best they can. They're also being escorted into the inner perimeter with an officer to see if there's any damage to their house, what reports need to be taken, realizing that there were numerous shots fired, there's evidence if there's any shell casing or bullets that can be located. We're going to be here throughout the most of the night trying to get this community back in shape.
Vicki, did Andy McCord say why he left his son inside there and jumped out the window himself?
No, ma'am. Again, he came out, gave us the information that Bradley was asleep, knowing that the child was in grave danger. The decision was made to go ahead and make that entry, but no, ma'am, he did not.
Was there someone with Bradley when they went in?
No, ma'am. Bradley was left alone. Lynn came out first. Mr. McCord came out second. Bradley was still inside asleep on the kitchen floor when the tactical team made entry and rescued him.
The two of them that were in the bedroom and climbed out, were they restrained and somehow got out of ropes or anything like that?
We have no information of that. That's got to come out from the debriefing as to what happened the entire time that they were there. I forgot the actual hour count that we're up to, 80 or 90 or wherever this ended. All that information is going to be debriefed from them, realizing that they've got to be exhausted themselves. Don't know when we're going to be able to release that information.
So it was 10:15 when we first.
Between 10:15 and 10:20 is the time frame.
What's Bradley tied up?
I have no information as to, all I know is that he was rescued. Nobody was
about
shot. Nobody was injured by
75 yards from me.
Okay.
No more than 100.
Hi, we just heard from Corporal Vicki Wareheim. We're breaking away just for a minute because we have with us Terry Bolyard. You were videotaping the entire incident as it was going down, and you are going to show that videotape exclusively to Eyewitness News as soon as we can get it on. But right now, we're going to explain to us kind of what went down. It all started, I saw the shots, the pictures of the robot actually delivering a package,
Right,
and you saw Lynn. Can you explain
the last food that was delivered. You could see her reach from the window, reaching out the window and grabbing the food and then picking it back up and taking it back in the house.
Okay, and then you also have videotape, and tell us what you actually see the hostages as they're escaping. Kind of explain what you saw.
Yeah, the officers, the tactical team, they come down and then they went like second house from where he had the people at. And then next thing I know, she runs outside and throws her hands up. Just kept doing that, and then she run, and they grabbed her and put her in the building.
Throwing her hands up, obviously, to let police know that
I'm safe, I'm all right. Let me, I need some help.
Okay, and then what did you see after that? You saw Andy after that jump out of the window?
I didn't see Andy. I seen Bradley. He come running out, but I never did see Andy.
Okay, and then describe on the tape when you actually see after Lynn Whitehead and Andy McCord escaped. After that, what do you see in the tape? You see actually the tactical units go in. Kind of describe for me what you just showed me on the videotape.
Where they was setting up the whole day on the side of the house, practicing how they was going to execute this thing when they was going to break into the house. you know, they kept going up the ladder, going up the ladder, going up the ladder. And so for about an hour, they kept doing it. So they finally took everybody down where I call it the staging area, and got set up. And then after Bradley came out, next thing I know, they was practicing again right before they went to the house, and then they run down the sidewalk and come back up in front of the house, and then they went up the ladders, punched the windows out, and bang, bang.
So did they, and it looked like on the tape, it looked like they shot before they entered. Is that what happened?
No, they popped the glass and then bang, bang.
Okay, so they broke into the glass and then they fired shots?
2 shots.
And then they entered the apartment building?
Entered through the window, right.
Okay, and then so as it was going down, you said, explained that they had been practicing this move all day long, trying to, in case they did have to go in. So right before, they were practicing when Lynn Whitehead jumped out. Is that what happened?
No, way before that. They was practicing all day on how they was going to, you know, they climb up the ladder with the gun and back down the ladder with the gun. But, you know, just to make sure they can do it safely, I guess.
Okay. And then after you saw them go inside, what did you see next? What's after that?
I mean, after they shot?
Yeah, that you said they broke the window, bang, bang, then they you see them all like running.
All rushing, right. They was all rushing towards the house.
And then what happens after that?
Then it was just Cahan. Everything just went every which way. You know, people running everywhere. And then next thing I know, somebody walked out and motioned something, and then next thing I know, the ambulance is coming.
Oh, yeah. And obviously, we're going to show you this video. It's pretty compelling. I've looked at it as he described it. It's just incredible. You see the whole thing as it goes down. You see the hostages jump out. Then you see the tactical teams come in. And did you know? I mean, was there any kind of warning, or all of a sudden did it just happen?
No, I was on the phone talking to Jane Miller, and
that's okay. Our competitor. That's okay.
Your competitor, and. Next thing I know, I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "There's a woman just came out of the house," and then everything just started rolling. Then, you know.
Okay. And you were taping the entire time.
The whole time. I never stopped taping.
Okay. And as soon as we get from here, we're going to somehow dub this tape and be able to show you this exclusive video that Channel 13 Eyewitness News has obtained of this whole hostage situation coming to an end, basically. Denise.
Thank you, Kathy. Terry standing with Kathy there, I had been speaking to him minutes ago, is understandably extremely nervous and wrought up. This has been a tremendous 12 hours, not to mention many hours before that he has lived through. But we're going to see that videotape as soon as we're able to get our machines with it queued up.
Okay. And we'll be right back with more accurate, updated information in just a moment.
What's my secret fantasy? The object of my desire. It's deep, dark, and very chocolate. It's a luscious brownie. So rich. I could make a meal of it.
Slim Fast Meal on the Go bars unwraps rich chocolate brownie. Indulge in its intense sensation. So good for you. A satisfying way to help you lose weight and feel great. Slim Fast Meal on the Go bars.
Take your fantasies anywhere.
A great cruise begins at home. Cruise Crown Dynasty from Baltimore or Philadelphia to Bermuda, where the sand is pink and sunsets unforgettable. Cruise to Bermuda every week, May through October, on Crown Dynasty, the ship that is Bermuda stem to stern. The new Crown Dynasty is the perfect marriage of beauty and civility. Cruise from Baltimore to Bermuda, a place like no other on a ship like no other. Crown Dynasty. It's your ship, Baltimore. Welcome aboard.
See your favorite Apple Vacations travel agent for March Madness specials.
Intrigue by Oldsmobile. Look what they're saying behind our back. Any questions? Lease a 2000 Intrigue GX with the award-winning 215 horsepower V6 engine for as low as $289 per month. No checkbook required at signing. Tax, title, license, extra residency restrictions apply. Call for lease details. See your local area Oldsmobile dealer today. Start something.
We were prepared to go as far or as long as we had to go. This issue of how many days, if it would have taken 3 weeks To us, it was the lives of those hostages. We knew where we were and where we had to be at all times. And there are things that we can't discuss and we won't discuss because of future cases.
A fortunate break for Baltimore County Police and certainly for the hostages tonight, an opportunity for them to escape, and they did just that. All 3 hostages are safe, and of course Joseph Palczynski is dead. The way this all came down, as it was explained by Vicki Wareheim, there were 6 officers on the tactical unit ready to go in. 2 of them actually made entry into the apartment. There they were able to secure the young boy, make him safe. Joseph Palczynski was on the sofa. He sat up, and when he sat up, that's when they opened fire, knowing that he was armed and that he did not want to be taken alive, and had demonstrated over the past couple of days his ability to inflict harm and danger and, of course, take lives.
And a moment ago, that was County Executive Dutch Rupersberger saying that they would probably not have been, implying they might not have been the aggressor, but because that hostage, initial hostage, Lynn Whitehead, made the move and went out that window, they were given the opportunity that they needed to go in and solve the situation. Right now we're going to go on the phone where we have George Whitehead, who is Tracy Whitehead's uncle. Tracy Whitehead, of course, the former girlfriend of Joseph Palczynski, who was at the center of this whole thing. George, are you on the phone?
Yes, ma'am.
George, what have you learned? Have you been able to talk to Tracy at all? And
I haven't talked to her since the night she escaped from him from the hotel. I was at the police department all night long when they brought her in down there.
And she was badly injured, we understand.
Yes, she was. She didn't show a lot of it, but she was hurt. And I mean, we only seen her for like a minute, you know, and then they took her back. They wasn't even going to let her see her at all. But everybody started hollering, so they finally brought her out for 1 or 2 minutes so her mother could see her.
Did they give you any indication at that time, when this whole thing was resolved, how soon it would be that she'd be able to come back and be with her family again?
No, they didn't. Not at that time. They didn't know how long it would take for the interrogation or whatever they needed to find out.
How did you learn of the situation this evening?
What's that again?
How did you learn of the developments this evening, and how did you get the news?
Watching the news.
I see.
Yeah, watching the news.
Now, you are Lynn Whitehead's brother, is that correct?
No, I'm Bobby Whitehead's brother.
I see.
Lynn's uncle.
I see.
I mean, Tracy's uncle.
Right. But obviously you know her mother, Lynn Whitehead.
Oh, yeah. I knew her since she was 15 years old.
And as we've been saying to various family members throughout the evening, it was a very brave thing that she did.
Oh, it sure was. I'm so happy for her and the whole family.
Everyone is. Everyone is.
It's been terrible.
Yeah, it has.
Well, a happy ending, and I know you're relieved. I know you're tired, like everyone else, and you're ready to have all this entire situation over and to get some rest at least this evening.
Yes, sir. I'm just so glad it's over with. You know, everybody can go back to their life. You know, get back in their homes.
That's right.
Yeah. George Whitehead, thank you so much for calling us.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
One other thing we want to mention again is that Joseph Palczynski called Eyewitness News twice this past weekend. One of these conversations was a very long recorded message that was left on the voicemail of our reporter Suzanne Collins. We want to play that for you now, the last recorded voice of Joseph Palczynski.
Saved message, Sunday, 2:55 p.m.
Suzanne Collins, hi, this is Joseph Palczynski. I'm in a house on Lang Street, got 3 people hostage. This is really me. I've been trying to communicate to the police. All I want to do is talk to Tracy Whitehead, my girlfriend. I love her dearly. I did not mean to kill those people. They've blocked all communication between Tracy and I and any outgoing phone conversations, or communication rather. I've been begging for them to just allow me to talk to Tracy, and I will surrender peacefully. I won't kill anybody else. I won't hurt anybody else. You know, I did not mean to do any of this. Somehow, I'm not going to indicate exactly how we got this phone, but bottom line is we did get the phone. But I need to talk to somebody immediately, and somebody needs to relay to Channel 13, 11, whatever, that the police are blocking any means of communication between Tracy and I, and that's all I want to do is talk to her, and we can end this peacefully. And my name's Joe Palczynski. It's not a prank or anything. Social security number is 217-825-697. Live at 41 Freedom Court. Birthday is 11/11/68. That's all verification I can give you. But sorry. Bye.
That is voicemail received in Eyewitness News on Sunday. The voice of Joseph Palczynski leaving a message that he wanted to be able to speak with Tracy Whitehead, his former girlfriend. When we received that tape, there was a lot of discussion in this building about whether or not we would air it. On one hand, we owe a duty to the community to give them the most information that we can, and clearly that is newsworthy. On the other hand, we had an obligation to make sure nothing happened to those hostages. And so this is the kind of discussion that went on in our making the decision. Here's Suzanne Collins.
Day 2:55 p.m.
Suzanne Collins, hi, this is Joseph Palczynski.
The recording of Palczynski's message was played for WJZ General Manager Jay Newman. Shortly after that message was left on Sunday, Palczynski also called the station and spoke with reporter Katie Lahan.
I talked to him, and when I was on the phone with him, the thing that just absolutely blew my mind is that he sounds totally normal.
Both reporters and station management brainstormed on what effect airing this sensitive information might have.
I don't know what the answer is. I think I want to hear more from police on what the expert hostage negotiators think it will cause before we decide.
Eyewitness News also realized Palczynski's words might be critical to police trying to solve the hostage crisis. The suspect had called the station on a phone that police were not monitoring.
I've been begging for them to just allow me to talk to Tracy, and I will surrender peacefully. I won't kill anybody else.
Eyewitness News management called county police. A short time later, a detective directly involved in the negotiations with Palczynski came to WJZ to listen to the tape of his recorded message.
I'm in a house on Lang Street, got 3 people hostage.
The detective had no comment, but took a copy of the tape back to the negotiating team so it might be evaluated. We also called Palczynski's mother, who had provided her son with Eyewitness News' telephone number.
What you're thinking, even though you're not a psychologist, is that this may be the key to ending it.
I'm his mother. I know more than a psychologist knows about him.
And we are trying to do everything that we can to cover the story in a responsible way, but not to do anything that could negatively affect the outcome.
Palczynski's plea was that he be allowed to speak with his girlfriend, Tracy Whitehead.
I love her dearly. I did not mean to kill those people.
But the chief negotiator called WJZ General Manager Jay Newman and made an appeal that Eyewitness News not air the tape until the crisis was over. Police were worried it just might give the gunman the excuse he needed to act out violently.
It was a difficult decision, but given the life and death nature of the situation, we at WJZ and CBS decided to err in the interest of caution and not do anything that might influence the outcome of the hostage situation and result in people getting hurt.
Suzanne Collins, WJZ Eyewitness News.
Okay, we're going to take you now back live to the neighborhood where this entire situation has developed, and a lot of people are very happy to be able to get back into their homes, those that are able to. We're going to take you now to Ron Match and Kenna McGahee, who are standing by live, and they've been able to move closer to the actual scene.
Hi, Vic. How are you doing? First, we want to give you some quick perspective of where we're standing right now. The house where this took place, if you're looking at the back of some townhomes right now in an alley, you'll see a gray set. Right to the left, you'll see a brick house. Right to the left of that, you can't see it, is where the standoff took place. Now, Ron Matz and I have been out here for about an hour and a half talking to people in the area. In general, Ron, I'd say most people are pretty happy about how police handled this and how it went down. But, of course, we always want to give the other side. And there was a man who was quite irate about how this all went down. Tell me about that.
Well, we're going to hear from him later. He was actually in his backyard down the street here just screaming in a very loud voice, being very critical of the way the situation was handled. We have heard that in the neighborhood from some people, but yet on the other side, we've heard a lot of praise for the way the police handled the situation. You heard County Executive Dutch Ruppersberger. I spoke with him just a few minutes ago, and I asked him point blank if would the county have done anything differently. He said absolutely not. Absolutely not. They felt the lives of the 3 hostages were of the utmost import, and that's why the situation was handled the way it was.
And I was listening to that interview with Dutch Ruppersberg, and he also said they were quite aware of how Mr. Palczynski, or how they believe Mr. Palczynski was manipulating the situation. I believe he said, you know, this was his show. This is how he wanted it. He liked it. He liked all the attention he was getting, and I think that's kind of the feel a lot of people had around here.
I think that's one of the controversies that will come out of this whole episode. As you know, Mr. Palczynski called us earlier in this crisis. He made it very plain to the police there were certain things that he did not want to see on television, and I think that's what Mr. Ruppersberger was referring to about this control, that he felt he was in control of this show, quote unquote.
Right.
Yeah.
But when we all look at it and we look back at how it really ended, perhaps he was not in control, and perhaps the waiting game was exactly what the police had planned. They wanted him to tire out and fall asleep and put down his guard.
Well, it was 96 hours approximately, the longest hostage standoff in the history of Baltimore County. And I keep thinking back to yesterday when we were live on the other side of the neighborhood, and that lady who drove by in the truck and had that sign and says, "Give us back our families." And tonight in this neighborhood, the families are back, folks are outside, they are breathing a sigh of relief that can be heard all over the state of Maryland, in fact, all over the country.
And a huge sigh of relief, and actually we're getting a perspective that we haven't really had. People, we've been talking to people that have been quote-unquote held hostage, but really some of the people that live in this area are saying they had no idea what being held hostage was, because they could come out in the street and talk to us. But you, sir, could not come outside.
Right.
Tell me what would happen when you'd come to your door and try to come out.
Well, the police would tell us to go back inside, and they also wanted the curtains drawn, and that was for our own safety, and we realized that, and I really think that they did the right thing by keeping all of us in, because the other day when Ron was down the street and the bullets were flying, I could actually hear it, and that is the same day that they actually shot the windows out of a car that's right in the back of me. I don't know if it was a stray bullet or if it was intentionally done, but when Ron was running, I was ducking also, Ron, but I was watching you on TV.
Wow, and I think it's safe to say that you're breathing a sigh of relief. Does it feel good to be able to walk outside?
Yes, it does, and it feels good to be away from my wife.
I hope she didn't hear that. And on that note, I think we're going.
You right now, Charlie.
Probably is, so I'm probably in big trouble when I go back in the house.
But you know what? She probably feels just the same way.
Right.
Yeah, she's over there in the window watching it. There she is, wait. You know.
We're still going to be held in a little bit longer, I believe, because this is really a crime scene, which you can see the tape, right, Ron?
Absolutely.
So I think we're going to be here for a little while longer, and I've been in touch with my supervisor at work, and he understands, and I really appreciate that too.
And I'm sure the instructions will be coming forth soon about who will be able to leave and how this will be taken care of in the future. But anything else to add from out here today?
Well, I thought Bill Toohey summed it up best earlier after this all ended. He said that Joe Palczynski is no longer a threat. And I think everyone in this neighborhood feels the same way tonight.
On that note, we are going to throw it back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you, Kent and Ron. The obvious relief of neighbors, and at almost 2 in the morning, people are getting a little giddy because there's such tremendous relief in that community. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. We'll have the latest updated, accurate information for you when Eyewitness News continues in just a few moments. Stay with us.
GMC. Trucks with capabilities that will change the way you look at the road. Professional grade pickups, SUVs, and family vans designed better than they need to be. Like the 2000 GMC Sierra, the only half-ton pickup with standard 4-wheel anti-lock disc brakes on all models. Now lease a 2000 4-wheel drive Sierra SL for as low as $299 a month. Residency restrictions apply. Call for important lease details. GMC. Do one thing. Do it well.
For sinus sufferers, it can start with a twinge or perhaps a slight pressure. For everyone, there's a signal. Your sinuses are gonna be trouble. Don't let it happen. Take Sudafed at the first sign. Untreated sinus pressure can escalate to pain. But now, taking Sudafed at the first sign releases pressure, so symptoms don't get worse.
The first sign of pressure, that's my signal.
Stop sinus pain before it starts. Take non-drowsy Sudafed at the first sign.
Cars involved in an accident can be replaced, but you can't replace your health. That's why you need the experience and commitment of Science, Kirk, and Miles at 1-800-LAWYERS. Let's talk about it, because if you have a phone, you have a lawyer.
Spring is here along with great airfares to frontier towns across America. For big savings on a spring or summer getaway, buy your tickets by April 4th, fly by September 30th. But hurry, with savings this good, sale seats won't last long. Fares are each way, round trip purchase required.
The owner reported that one of the hostages had jumped out of the window. It has now been discovered that another hostage also jumped out the window. We have made a tactical entry into the apartment. All of the hostages are safe. That is all the information I have right now. I will be right back out.
Joseph Palczynski is dead. He was shot by Baltimore County tactical officers shortly after 11 tonight and died at 11:05 on the scene. To begin the scenario tonight, at 10:20, one of the hostages, Lynn Whitehead, was able to climb out a window to the safety of waiting police officers. She left behind Andy McCord and Andy's son, Brad. At 10:40, Andy climbed out that same window to the safety of police officers, leaving the 12-year-old boy asleep on the kitchen floor, Palczynski asleep on the sofa. At this point, SWAT team officers made what's known as a tactical entry. They broke through the window, encountered Mr. Palczynski in the family room, and shot him. They then rescued the boy, took him out, brought him out. Paramedics were called to tend to Mr. Palczynski, who was pronounced dead on the scene at 11:05. Now, I know you all have a lot of questions about this, but this is our very first preliminary announcement. We will have more detail as the night wears on.
Of course, that was Bill Toohey about 2 hours ago, actually, making the announcement. Stunning developments in the Joseph Palczynski case. But as we know, this is not the first time that Palczynski has been in a very long standoff with police.
That's right. He has a long criminal record, most of it involving domestic violence. And the first time that, before this, that he was in a standoff with police was in Idaho. And we have some video of it that we have obtained. You are looking at video Eyewitness News has obtained of a standoff in Gooding, Idaho in 1992. Palczynski there held police at bay for 16 hours. Of course, this time went a lot longer. Police say this happened because his girlfriend accused him of domestic violence. The barricade finally ended when Palczynski was forced out of the building with tear gas. Of course, the big difference, important difference in this situation, was that there were no hostages inside the home in Idaho. It was simply Palczynski armed and holed up by himself inside that house. They got him out with tear gas because they didn't have to worry about him killing anyone else if he got enraged because of the tear gas, etc. This was a very different situation.
Certainly so. We're going to take you now live to the Eyewitness newsroom where Kai Jackson has more information on this story that continues to develop even as we speak. Kai.
Well, Vic and Denise, the events that happened in Idaho are but one chapter in a long history of problems with Joseph Palczynski. More recently, however, Eyewitness News put together this timeline to show you exactly what precipitated tonight's events.
The other night in the woods, you told me how much you loved me and wanted to marry me.
A letter to Joseph Palczynski from Tracy Whitehead, read by Palczynski's lawyer in the wake of events that began March 4th, when Tracy Whitehead had Palczynski arrested for domestic violence. On March 5th, Palczynski was released on bond. On March 6th, he talked a neighbor into making a buy for him, and Joe Palczynski got his guns.
This is shocking to me to hear that the people were shot.
March 7th, 3 people are killed, Tracy Whitehead kidnapped, and the family of David Myers learns their son is dead.
She said, "Mom, Dave's dead." And I thought, I did not understand her. And I said, "What did you say, Terry?" "David is dead. He was just shot."
And I said, are you sure? She said, I was just holding him in my arms and he died.
March 8th, a carjacking attempt, another person dead, and Whitehead escapes. Nothing from Joseph Palczynski for 2 days. Then on March 10th, a break-in in Virginia. And William Terrell is forced at gunpoint to drive Joseph Palczynski back home.
And I knew at that point in time that I may never see life again. I may never come back home again.
For 7 days, Joseph Palczynski rests, and police keep their search in high gear. Then Joseph Palczynski shoots his way into the home of Tracy Whitehead's relatives, and after a night and day of negotiations, starts shooting out.
Gun barrel coming out, gun barrel coming out. Shots fired, guys, shots fired.
Boom, 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 boom. It was like 6 straight shots.
You can hear 2 shots hit the face of the building at all the rounds that were fired. What he was doing is shooting at the armored car they had. And I don't know, we saw an armored car with the flat tires.
Guy Jackson, WJZ Eyewitness News. Vic and Denise, Eyewitness News just got off the phone with Ron Messman. He's a longtime friend of Joseph Palczynski. He was absolutely distraught after hearing that Joseph Palczynski had been shot and killed. He certainly was relieved that the hostages are safe and that they're free tonight. But I think he, as did the relatives of Joseph Palczynski, he was absolutely distraught that it came to this and that Mr. Palczynski did not give himself up to police voluntarily. Back to you in the studio.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Kai. Life has been lost. 5 lives lost in this entire encounter here. We're going to go now to some videotape we have of Ron Matz, who, as you saw moments ago, has been speaking to neighbors who have been within the police barrier and are finally able to come out of their homes. And as you can imagine, they're extremely relieved and happy.
That is correct, Kai. We have gotten very close to the house where Mr. Palczynski held the 3 hostages for nearly approximately 96 hours, actually a little bit longer than that. Joining me live now are Jesse and Pat Fell, and we want to talk to them. They have been literally held hostage in their own house for 4 days because you live how far from where the hostage siege was going on?
About a block. About a block and a half the most.
Tell me what you heard tonight.
A little bit glass break and 2 shots, pop. And I was thinking, oh no, he's out here shooting again. And it got a little scary again.
When this started, describe for me that night, last Friday night. Tell me what happened.
Friday night, we were in the living room and reading the paper, and I heard some hollering and screaming, and we looked out the window and we heard somebody, come on, get in, get in. My wife looked out the back. She seen police officers with rifles running up the alley, and she kind of suspected something was going on.
Mm-hmm. What has it been like for you being inside for 4 days in your home?
Nerve-wracking. We were limited to so much space. We couldn't go near the windows, couldn't go out the front door, the back door, nothing like that. We had to watch where we went, and it was a long 96 hours.
We want to ask.
A long 96 hours, indeed, echoed by every single person in that community and in much of the state of Maryland. We are going to take a break right now. We'll be right back with the latest, updated, accurate information. Eyewitness News is going to return in just a moment. Please stay with us.
On Tuesday, April 4th, the FBI's best agent is going inside the mob.
Who's that? Joe Falcone.
Get ready to spend some quality time with the family.
He says it's ready to rock and roll. We're talking 8, 10 grand. So go make some money.
8 extraordinary episodes.
They're looking right at you. Don't say anything.
1 television event.
There's a contract out in your life. And where do you get this kind of information? WiseGuys.com?
Jason Gedrick stars in Falcone.
Bang, bang, bang.
Go inside. CBS Tuesday, April 4th.
Life's tough without a car, but how can you get one with bad credit or no credit at all? Well, here's good news. At Nationwide Auto World Suzuki, if you're working, there's a car waiting for you. You see, Nationwide wants your business. No more credit rejections. Pick up the phone and call right now. 410-252-5600. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The application is fast, free, and confidential. Pick up the phone and call 410-252-5600. Because if you're working, Nationwide's got a car waiting for you.
How an academia nut prepares for competition. First, pour over lots of facts and figures. Second, develop a strong appetite for knowledge. Third, think fast. Fourth, digest information. And fifth, practice lots of hand-eye coordination. See if academia nuts from Baltimore area schools are all that they're cracked up to be.
It's Academic, Saturdays at 11 on WJZ, Baltimore's favorite station.
Good evening. I'm here to report that we had a successful operation this evening, saving the lives of 3 hostages. It was a professional effort by law enforcement, the Baltimore County Police Department, and could not have been accomplished without the support of the community and all the law enforcement agencies that were here. And it's 3 hostages, free, safe, because of the professional effort. Any questions?
Yes, sir, Chief. Can you give us any further details to how the operation went down?
Yes. Lynn Whitehead escaped from a bedroom window. Shortly after that, Andrew McCord escaped, and we were given information as to the location of Mr. Palczynski and Brad McCord, the son of Andrew McCord. And with that, the tactical officers made a decision to go in, and they went in through the living room windows.
All right, that was Baltimore County Police Chief Terrence Sheridan describing what happened this evening. And as you heard him say, this whole thing came about because 3 hostages, first Lynn Whitehead had the nerve to go out the window and escape from that situation. And earlier, Vic and I spoke with members of her family, and we have a little bit of that for you to hear if you weren't with us at that time.
We are so happy. You wouldn't believe it. We're so happy. We've been praying the whole time, ever since day one when Tracy was taken away.
Have you had a chance to talk with Andy yet?
No, I haven't, but I'm sure waiting to hug him. I'll tell you, I sure am.
Sounds like you got the entire family there.
A very elated family.
Yes, we have a crowd here.
So Mr. McCord, you are Andy's brother.
Yes, I am.
And so you're Bradley's uncle?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I've got it clear now. Well, this is the best possible outcome for your family, obviously. Have police talked to you at all since it's happened?
What's that? Say that
Have
again?
you spoken to police this evening at all?
No, we haven't. We just spoke to the chaplain.
Let me ask you something. Once you heard the news, I assume you got the news by watching broadcasts here. What was your immediate reaction? What did your family do?
Our immediate reaction was we heard Lynn climbing out the window, and then we're saying, "Come on, Brad and Andy, come on. Let's all 3 of you get loose."
And then once you heard that they had actually made it to safety, what did you do?
We were jumping up and down. Louis said, "Let's get over there." We were jumping up and down with joy, believe me.
Yes, I can hear you in the background saying cried, and I'm sure there were tears of joy. You say you spoke with a chaplain. Was this a personal chaplain or the police chaplain?
No, it was the police chaplain.
And what did he say to you?
We all said a prayer together.
Well, I'm sure your prayers have been answered, have they not?
Our
prayer works.
I guess you heard that.
I did hear that.
Let me ask you something, Mr. McCord. Had you ever had any contact with Mr. Palczynski at all?
I've met him a couple times, and that's it. And no long contacts, a couple minutes at a time. That's about it.
What was your initial impression of him?
My initial impression was he was a clean-cut young man that had good manners.
G.I. Joby.
But my wife used to call him G.I. Joby, and I guess that's who we thought he was.
Right. Yeah, you obviously are sad, though, also that he lost his life.
Yes, we're sad for him. We're sad for his family, and we know the Lord is with us right now.
All right, that was a phone conversation that Vic and I had just earlier with members of the Whitehead family. And right now we have Krista Del Camp on the phone, and she is about to rendezvous with them to do an interview with them. And Krista, are you there?
Yes, I am. We're outside the public safety building, the county public safety building in Towson, where these hostages are from what we understand, being debriefed as we speak, although we don't know exactly how long that's going to take. It could take a matter of hours. We just don't know at this point. But, yeah, we're camped outside here, hoping to be able to speak with the, hopefully with the hostages and former hostages and their family members at some point this evening and shed a little light on what exactly happened in that apartment for so many days.
Right. Well, Krista, this is just one of the many, many, many stories that still have to be told out of this situation. I know that you have met with this family before. They mentioned that you're their hero. You'll have to tell us why tomorrow. Okay. But clearly they have a lot of affection for you. So we will, I'm sure, get a report from you tomorrow on what you find out there.
Hopefully. We'll see. We'll wait and see. And, yeah, very interesting stories, hopefully, coming out of here. The family has been actually... I've seen them go through such a range of emotions, as you might imagine, Denise. You know, I was just on the phone, actually, with David McCord today, who was talking about the fact that he, you know, tears were coming to his eyes. He was shedding tears and praying, and then just a few moments ago, you just sensed that jubilation from that family. You just can't imagine the range of emotions that they've been going through. They've been very willing to share a lot of background information, but because of the sensitivity of this investigation, they haven't wanted a lot of that to go over air, you know, on record. Indeed. So we're hoping to get a lot of information confirmed and out there. And they have been eager to tell their story, but once again, they did not want to do anything that would jeopardize the investigation or incite Mr. Palczynski for so many days, because, as we know, he was watching very carefully the television coverage. So,
okay, Krista.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
of course,
Krista.
we'll be checking in with you in the morning.
Indeed. Well, we are going to stop now our coverage of this event, and of course, in just a couple of hours, we will have the very latest at 5 a.m. with Rise and Shine with Don and Marty.
And we won't be there.
No, I don't think so.
Thanks for staying with us. Good morning.